I walked out of the fantasy realm with my friend Jun Moku, and we headed straight to the Chaos Tower in the center of Kyoto. The tower was massive and ancient, built from huge stone blocks worn down by time, glowing with a mysterious light. People say it existed even before humans were pulled into this world. The city of Kyoto was actually built around it. Outside the tower stood a black stone tablet listing the top 10 records for each floor. The first 5 names belonged to the 5 great supreme beings of the human race. I recognized one name, Elder Wind, ranked 6th, the strongest person below the supreme level. The rest I didn't know, probably some of the 10 great kings. I read the rules carefully. The scoring on the first floor was based on completion time, 10 seconds, or under mint SSS rank, and 10,000 attribute points. Jun Moku asked me to cast a combat blessing on him before entering, so I did. He rushed in confidently. While waiting, I noticed a man lying on the ground near the tablet. He looked like a beggar, wearing torn clothes, flip-flops, messy blue hair, and holding a wine bottle. His voice was lazy but sharp. He told me the tower tests only your own strength and that outside buffs are useless. I slipped him a gold coin and he seemed satisfied. Jun Moku came back out smiling. He had finished in 20 seconds and earned SS rank, breaking the 100-year-old record. The crowd erupted. Even the old beggar stood up and praised him, though he quickly added a warning not to get too proud. Then he turned to me. It was my turn. I was just about to step into the Chaos Tower when my instincts screamed danger. I spun around and saw a figure in a black robe cutting through the crowd, heading straight for Jun Moku. He was fast, incredibly fast. I shouted a warning and threw a shield on Jun Moku just in time. The robed man pulled out a long sword and thrust it at Jun Moku's chest. Jun Moku dodged, barely. I swung my fan and sent a wind blade at the attacker while Jun Moku struck back with his sword. Both hits landed with 0 damage. His defense was unreal. Then he charged up his sword with pink, glowing energy. The crowd screamed and ran. I felt the pressure from that attack even where I stood. Jun Moku tried to move, but was completely locked in place by the sword's force. I watched helplessly, thinking this was the end for him. But the sword never landed. The old beggar had caught the blade between 2 fingers, with his other hand still loosely holding his wine bottle. He looked completely relaxed. The attacker collapsed to his knees, shaking, begging for his life. He called the old man Lord Chu. The beggar asked who sent him, but the attacker said a soul contract would kill him the moment he spoke. The old man shrugged, pointed one finger, and a beam of golden red energy went straight through the man's skull. He dropped dead instantly. The crowd erupted. Someone recognized the old beggar. He was Chu Lanfeng, one of the 5 great supremes of the human race and leader of the Hidden Dragon Organization. He put his hands on our shoulders and teleported us outside the city in a flash of golden light. Standing in that quiet corner, Jun Moku and I were completely speechless. Chu Lanfeng looked us over casually and said we were both impressive, 1 7-star and 1 9-star. Then his eyes landed on me and stayed there. He said something strange, that even though I was a support class, I gave off a sharp and fierce feeling. He asked me directly if I had learned any archer skills. I decided to be honest with Chu Lanfeng and told him I had learned an archer skill. I explained that as a support class, having some attack ability would make me more useful in battle. He nodded and then told me to hit him with my strongest attack. I hesitated but obeyed. I checked my stats, buffed myself with the War God Blessing, stepped back, drew my bow, and fired a fully charged arrow straight at him. He just stood there watching. He caught it between 2 fingers and it dissolved instantly, but the force of the shot blew his long blue hair back wildly. He seemed genuinely impressed and mentioned that Elder Wind had personally recommended me to him. That explained a lot. I felt proud but stayed humble. Then he said something I never expected. He wanted to take me as his disciple and teach me advanced skills. Jun Moku looked like he might faint from shock and envy. I was more cautious. Chu Lanfeng was one of the 5 supremes and leader of the Hidden Dragon Organization, but the Dragon Nation institutions had all rejected me. Why would he go against that? He seemed to read my thoughts and said rules and political reviews meant nothing to him. He told me that the night before, he had seen a flame in my eyes, a flame that refused to break. I suddenly realized he had been there in the shadows last night, quietly handling the assassins sent after me. Elder Wind had arranged all of this to protect me. I bowed deeply and accepted him as my master. He turned to Jun Moku and praised his talent, saying it surpassed even his own and the nation's leader. He told him to train well at Beijing University and come find him after graduation. He also gave Junmoku the black-robed man's platinum sword as a gift. Junmoku accepted it with shaking hands, then went pale when he saw the level requirement of 500. Chu Lanfeng just laughed and said 500 levels would come fast. Then my master sent Junmoku away with a wave and turned to me. I showed him my meteor arrow rain skill, keeping my other secret ability hidden for now. He respected that I was being cautious and did not push me. He said since I already had a group attack skill, he would teach me 2 stronger burst skills instead. I worried that teaching me skills would cost him something. He brushed it off, saying his skills would just reset to level 1, and at his level that barely mattered. I promised to restore them once I obtained the Chaos Flame. He placed his hands on my back, and I felt a wave of powerful energy pour into me. Complex symbols appeared in my mind, and 2 new skill icons began glowing in my skill bar. When it was done, he gave me one final piece of advice. Stay humble and stay alert, because this world is far more complicated than I think. Then he coughed awkwardly and admitted he was a bit short on money lately, so my welcome gift would be something small. My master handed me a small gift, and I nearly lost my breath when I saw what it was. A space ring, taken from the black-robed assassin. In this world, space rings are incredibly rare. They cannot be dropped by monsters, and can only be crafted by dwarf master smiths using extremely hard-to-find materials. Even with money, you might never find one. Every adventurer dreams of owning one. Chu Lanfeng smiled, and said the contents inside were his to keep, joking that young people need to earn things themselves. I put it on carefully and used my spiritual power to explore it. It held an independent space of 2 by 2 by 2 meters. I covered it with my glove and thanked him from the heart. He patted my shoulder and told me to go create my own legend, reminding me that level 100 is where things truly begin. Then he waved his hand, and I vanished just like Junmoku had. I reappeared at the base of the Chaos Tower. Still dizzy from the teleport, I opened the 2 new archer skills my master had passed to me. The first was 9-star chain, which fires 1 arrow and automatically generates 8 energy arrows behind it, each dealing full physical damage. The second was Starfall, a single devastating shot charged over 3 seconds dealing 900% physical damage with a guaranteed critical hit. I nearly lost my mind reading those descriptions. Combined with my own passive ability that multiplies damage, 9-star chain becomes 9 arrows, each hitting 11 times harder than normal. And Starfall becomes effectively 198 times my base attack at just level 1. I could not even imagine what these skills would become as I grew stronger. I stepped into the tower entrance. Inside was a circular arena about 100 meters wide, surrounded by stone pillars covered in strange symbols. A mechanical voice asked whether I wanted the Combat Class Challenge or the Support Class Challenge. I chose Combat. The ground shook and a 3-meter-tall lion-headed beast man appeared, holding a giant axe. I scanned it. 100,000 health points, but its attack and defense were basically 0. The real challenge for most people would be burning through that massive health pool in time. Without equipment bonuses, my attack was only around 500. That would take over 200 seconds, well past the 180-second limit. I cast my War God Blessing and pushed my attack up to over 7,000. Then I noticed something wonderful. After confirming the start, the system gave a 10-second countdown before the fight actually began. I did not waste a single second. I drew my bow and began charging Starfall during the countdown. The moment the countdown hit 0, I released. A golden arrow tore through the air like a meteor and struck the Beast Man King directly in the head before it could even move. 1,400,000 damage. Critical hit. It collapsed instantly. The mechanical voice began to speak again. The mechanical voice announced my result. 1 second clear time. SSS rank. 10,000 spirit power points rewarded. Then I hit level 100. A flood of system notifications came all at once. World channel unlocked. Nation channel unlocked. Region channel unlocked. Neutral zone boss alerts activated. Some kind of Chaos Dragon event opened up. Remote trading and mail systems came online. And my passive skill had automatically upgraded. I stepped out of the tower quickly and moved to a quiet corner of the square, worried about another assassination attempt like what happened to Junmoku. I equipped my bow from the space ring and checked my stats. My spirit power had jumped to 31,000. My physical attack was now over 9,000. With my War God Blessing adding another 10,000 on top, my total attack was close to 20,000. My shield skill using that spirit power would generate over 300,000 health points of protection. The numbers were almost hard to believe. Then I looked at my upgraded passive skill. It had leveled up automatically just from me breaking through to level 100, saving me 18 Chaos Flames worth of upgrades. The skill now generated energy arrows automatically, meaning I never needed to buy real arrows again. It could also lock onto a target, and once locked, my arrows would track that target no matter which direction I faced, even ignoring distance limits entirely. On top of that, charging for 3 seconds now multiplied my damage by 22 times instead of 11. I also learned that leveling up past 100 works completely differently. No more experience points. Instead, I would need to hunt special bosses in the neutral zone and collect star origin pearls to advance. That explained everything. The world channel connecting all races, the boss alert system, all of it was designed to push different races into competing over the same targets in the neutral zone. Elder Wind and my master had both told me that level 100 is where things truly begin. Now I understood what they meant. I suspected someone was pulling strings behind all these rules, but I was still too weak to do anything about it. For now I had no choice but to play along. Then a mechanical voice spoke in my ear again. 10 minutes until 10 bosses between level 100 and 199 would appear in the neutral zone, carrying rare treasures. All Black Iron Realm adventurers who received this notice could confirm a system teleport to go challenge them. The system alert startled me, and a teleport confirmation window appeared with a countdown. I thought fast. The only way to level up now was by hunting bosses in the neutral zone and collecting star origin pearls. The teleport cost 100,000 gold coins, which was almost everything I had. But I had no choice. I confirmed it. I landed on a giant circular platform. In the center stood a 100-meter stone pillar radiating light that covered a safe zone about 500 meters wide. There was also a crystal tower glowing blue nearby. I probed it with my spirit power and discovered it was a rewards exchange shop filled with equipment and medals of various grades, all purchasable with points earned from killing bosses. I looked through the medals carefully. The regular ones were nothing special, but the gold rank medals were impressive. One called the Supreme Honor Medal combined health, spirit power, attack, magic attack, and defense all in one. It cost 500 points, and I decided right there that I had to get it. I looked around the platform and saw adventurers from many different races waiting for the bosses to appear. It was my first time seeing other races up close. Some had pointed ears, some had horns or tails, sharp fangs or claws, and some were enormous mechanical giants. Despite being here for the same purpose, everyone kept their distance from each other. The tension was obvious. I overheard some adventurers talking about using random teleport scrolls to scatter across the zone and find bosses faster, then calling others over with coordinates. That made sense. The neutral zone was enormous, and searching on foot for 10 randomly placed bosses would be nearly impossible. I opened the remote trading system that had unlocked at level 100 and found a merchant guild connected to the card Tang Si had given me. I listed my spare equipment for auction remotely, then spent 8,000 gold on 10 random teleport scrolls at 1,000 each. My equipment sold quickly, but after the 10% handling fee, I only got 5,400 gold back. I grumbled about the fees, but appreciated the speed. I also checked the price of regular targeted teleport scrolls. The cheapest was 500,000 gold. I closed that window immediately. There was no way. Then 3 demon race teenagers appeared on the platform. They had pale white skin and long dark red hair. The one in front carried a black sword and radiated arrogance from every step. The other races on the platform immediately stirred nervously. Someone nearby whispered that he was Fun Yi, the only son of one of the 10 great demon kings, and had recently awakened an 8-star sword demon class. Several beast race and aquatic race adventurers rushed over to greet him and offer to report boss locations to him first. Everyone else started sighing and talking about leaving. With Fun Yi here at 150 levels and an 8-star class, nobody else stood much of a chance competing against him. Most decided to just wait for him to advance to the next realm so he would stop competing in this bracket. I stayed quiet and kept watching. I noticed Fun Yi glancing at me, and I met his gaze without backing down. He gave a cold smile and called me uninteresting before looking away. I said nothing back. The system announced 5 seconds until bosses arrived. I immediately cast my War God Blessing and Spirit Shield on myself. My attack climbed to nearly 20,000, and my shield held over 300,000 health points. The countdown hit 0, and the safe zone barrier disappeared entirely. Everyone started tearing their random teleport scrolls. I pulled one out too, but before I could use it, a sharp black sword energy came flying straight at me from behind. It hit my shield for over 50,000 damage. I spun around and caught just a glimpse of Fonyi smirking before he vanished into a beam of light. I spat in the direction he disappeared and cursed him under my breath. If I had not put up my shield just moments before, that single strike would have killed me instantly. He was powerful, no question, but I reminded myself that in this realm nobody can equip anything above gold grade regardless of their family background. If that rule did not exist, someone like him with a Demon King for a father would probably be wearing diamond grade gear. I tagged him mentally as a target. Next time we met, I would not let him run. My passive skill could lock onto targets and chase them no matter the distance. He just got lucky he moved too fast for me to lock on this time. I tore my first random teleport scroll and got launched somewhere high up in a tree, hundreds of meters off the ground. I used another. Nothing. 5 scrolls in a row and no boss anywhere. On the 7th teleport, I landed under a tree and stepped in something warm and soft. I will not describe it further. I spent a while cleaning my shoe. The 8th scroll dropped me onto an open grassland. In the distance near a mountain base, I spotted movement. I crept closer carefully and saw a massive beastman boss holding a giant battle axe. Nobody else had found it yet. I moved to exactly 200 meters away and scanned it. Level 110, 2 million health points, 12,000 in both attack and defense stats. I raised my bow, locked onto the boss with my spirit power, then deliberately aimed in a completely different direction to test whether my tracking ability actually worked. I charged up and released 9-star chain. 9 golden energy arrows curved through the air and hunted down the target on their own. The damage numbers exploded across the boss one after another, including a critical hit nearly double the others. It died before it could even charge at me. The zone announced my kill publicly across the entire region. So much for staying low profile. The reward was 20 points, meaning I only needed 5 kills to get that gold medal I wanted. The boss also dropped 2 pieces of equipment, glowing light blue, and 2 gray pearls along with some gold coins. I ran over to collect everything. The boss dropped 2 silver grade items and 20,000 gold coins. Both pieces were decent, but I did not need them personally, so I listed them on the remote merchant system instead. Silver grade equipment at full durability sold for around 500,000 gold each. Just one boss kill had already paid back my entire investment, and then some. I also picked up 2 gray glowing pearls. These were the star origin pearls I needed to level up, 1 use each, and they could not be traded. They even had a 2-hour time limit before they expired. I wanted to use them immediately, but held off in case I found a level 100 boss where being over level would stop items from dropping. I tucked them into my space ring for later. I tore another random scroll and kept searching. Meanwhile, unknown to me, Junmoku had also entered the neutral zone alone. He had made a big decision before coming in. After receiving that platinum sword from Chu Lanfeng, he had gone and sat alone in a public bathroom stall for a long time, staring at the blade and tearing up. He knew he could not use it until level 500, and carrying something that valuable around as a new student was risky. In the end, through red eyes and messy hair, he sold it for 60 million gold coins. With that money, he bought a full set of level 100 gold grade equipment, potions, random scrolls, and even the expensive targeted teleport scrolls. He was now hunting bosses by watching the region channel for coordinates and teleporting directly to them. Elsewhere in the neutral zone, adventurers from various races were talking about me after the public announcement. The elf and dwarf faction seemed impressed that a human had solo killed a boss. The beast and aquatic races loyal to Funyi scoffed and said it meant nothing compared to their prince. Funyi himself was surprised. He had expected that sword strike to kill me instantly. Now hearing I had solo killed a boss, he started taking me seriously as a future threat. He immediately ordered all his followers to kill any human on sight. I had no idea about any of this. I was standing on a cliff edge with only my last random teleport scroll left, sighing about having to buy more. I tore it without much hope. Light flashed, and I landed in a mountain valley. I looked up and froze at what I saw. I landed in a mountain valley, and the scene hit me all at once. Dozens of beast race, aquatic race, and demon race fighters were attacking a massive mechanical-looking boss, while 2 demon guards blocked others from joining. The ground was covered in bodies from other races, elves, dwarves, even dragon race adventurers. Standing in the middle of it all was a bloodied human with messy hair, holding his sword up at Funyi. He spat blood and cursed the demon race for attacking people from behind while they were fighting the boss. Funyi told him he must be Yi Ming and that a talent like him needed to be crushed early. The human shouted back that he was Jun Moku, not me, and that if it had actually been me, Funyi would already be dead. Funyi did not find that funny. He charged up a massive black sword energy and sent it flying at Jun Moku, who had no skills left off cooldown and could barely stand. Jun Moku lifted his sword anyway, not to attack, just to face the end with dignity. Then the attack vanished in a flash of light. Green energy poured into Jun Moku, and his health refilled completely. A strong shield wrapped around him. He turned around and saw me, waving my fan and smiling. I told him it had been a while. Funyi stared at me and called me a healer like it was an insult, then sent a black sword strike at me to test me. It hit my shield and did nothing. His expression shifted. I told him if he wanted to die that badly, I would help him. He powered up his strongest attack, and I immediately locked onto him with my spirit power and raised my bow. The moment he felt that lock, his confidence shattered. I watched the arrogance drain from his face in an instant. He tore a rare high-speed teleport scroll and vanished in 1 second flat. Jun Moku stared in disbelief that someone had just run away from a healer. I smiled and fired 9-star chain anyway. Jun Moku said he was already gone. I told him to let the arrows fly a little longer. Wherever Funyi reappeared in the jungle, he had barely started feeling relieved when he sensed something coming fast from behind. 9 golden arrows tracked him across any distance and tore straight through his defensive skill and his body. All 9 hit. He collapsed with a look of disbelief on his face, unable to accept that he had been killed by someone he thought was just a support class. The system notified me of the kill and gave me something called merit points, a reward type I had never heard of before. I made a note to ask my master about it later. I also noticed I could not loot his body since he died in the neutral zone. Annoying. I looked at the other non-Alliance fighters still attacking the boss nearby, then at all the bodies of Alliance adventurers they had killed. My eyes went cold. If killing one counted as killing, I might as well handle all of them. The non-Alliance fighters were still hammering away at the level 150 mechanical boss, completely unaware of what had just happened behind them. The boss had 5 million health points, 20,000 in attack and defense, and its armor was shrugging off most of the damage. Their attacks were messy and uncoordinated. Several of them kept dying to its counterattacks. I did not overthink it. I fired meteor arrow rain above the group. Golden arrows rained down like a storm. The first wave hit everything below for over 400,000 damage. Every single one of the non-Alliance adventurers died before they could even react. In a single move, the entire area cleared out, leaving just me and the boss standing across from each other. Jun Moku stared with his mouth open. I raised my bow again, locked on, and charged up Starfall. 1 golden arrow shot forward like a meteor and slammed into the boss with a noise that shook the ground beneath my feet. 7,700,000 damage. The boss dropped instantly and exploded into loot. The region announced my kill publicly again. 60 points this time. Jun Moku stood frozen. He said even with his full gold-grade equipment, he could only deal around 80,000 damage. He asked me how I was doing what I was doing. I kept it simple and told him my master taught me and gave me a powerful piece of equipment. I did not want to crush his confidence. He went quiet for a long moment. Then he said he understood that he needed to stop chasing my path and find his own. Before I could even ask what he meant, he triggered the 3-second exit countdown and disappeared. I stood there confused. That kid really does overthink things sometimes. I turned back to the loot. 60,000 gold coins, 2 silver-grade equipment pieces, both useful to me, and 6-star origin pearls. Combined with the 2 from before, I now had 8 total. I equipped the new gear immediately and felt my spirit power and attack climb higher. I decided to hold off on using the star origin pearls for now. Leveling up too fast might push me above the boss level range and cut off my item drops. Better to stay at level 100 a little longer. I pulled my sales earnings from the merchant system. Over 1 million gold coins total. I checked my full status. Spirit power above 33,000. Physical attack over 11,000 before buffs. Neutral zone points at 80, meaning I was getting close to that gold supreme honor medal I had my eye on. Merit points at 180, still no idea what those were for. Things were going very well. With my attack now over 22,000 after buffs, a regular charge shot hit for nearly 500,000 damage. Starfall could reach close to 9 million. My shield held 300,000 health points. I felt confident enough to go wherever I wanted in this zone. I bought 20 more random teleport scrolls and started tearing through them. While searching, I noticed 2 region announcements. An elf named Leah had solo killed a level 100 boss, and a dragon race adventurer named Ao had taken down a level 120. Interesting. Other races had real talent this cycle too. I needed to move faster before the remaining bosses were all taken. My next scroll dropped me into a dense forest area. I heard sounds in the distance and crept toward them carefully. A 5-person spirit race team was fighting a level 130 dwarf boss, working together smoothly with the boss already below half health. They were close to finishing it. Then I noticed the bodies on the ground nearby. Elves and humans. The spirit race was allied with the demon faction, which meant they had killed alliance members to get here. My targeting display confirmed they were all valid targets. I did not hesitate. I fired meteor arrow rain above the boss and let it cover the entire group. 4 of the 5 spirit race fighters died instantly. I followed up with 1 more arrow to finish the boss before the survivor could react. They tore a scroll and ran. The region announced my kill again. 40 points this time. I collected 50,000 gold for Star Origin pearls and 2 silver-grade equipment pieces, including a chest armor I swapped on immediately for the extra physical defense. The sword I listed on the merchant system for 1 million gold. Then the region channel exploded. The surviving spirit race member cried that I had stolen their boss and killed their teammates. The beast race and water race threatened to tear me apart. The demon faction announced that I had killed Fun Yi and swore revenge, saying the demon king himself would send level 199 elites in to hunt me down. I frowned reading all of it. I had not expected to become this famous this fast. But then other voices pushed back. The elf faction said the neutral zone is survival of the fittest and fully backed me. The dwarf race agreed. Human veterans said to call on them if I needed help. The dragon race and mechanical race both announced neutrality, but warned anyone who bothered them would regret it. I shook my head at all the noise and was about to ignore the channel entirely when another voice suddenly appeared. Someone in the region channel shouted at me saying the Demon King Fentian had a gift waiting for me. I laughed to myself and closed the channel. Finding bosses was more important than reading threats. I kept tearing through random teleport scrolls until I landed in an open clearing and spotted a massive humanoid boss. When I scanned it, I almost did a double take. The boss was modeled after someone named Wu Buoxiong, a human king ranked 10th on the Chaos Tower record board. He looked just like a kid named Wu How I knew. Must be his grandfather. Interesting background for that guy. The boss had 6 million health and 22,000 in all stats. My Starfall could handle it in one shot. I locked on and fired immediately. The boss reacted and threw up a holy flame shield, but Starfall punched straight through it, and the arrow buried itself in the boss's chest for over 6 million critical damage. It dropped. 70 points from that kill. 7 Star Origin pearls, 70,000 gold, and 2 silver rings dropped. I equipped the physical attack ring immediately and listed the magic attack one for 80,000 gold. I did the math on the remaining bosses and decided there was no point holding back my level anymore. I pulled out all 19 Star Origin pearls I had collected and used them one after another. The levels came fast. 101, 102, all the way up to 119 before the pearls ran out. It felt incredible, like riding a rocket. I checked my new stats. Spirit power had jumped to over 52,000. With my War God blessing, my total attack now reached 30,000. Meaning a fully charged regular shot hit for 680,000 damage. My shield health climbed to 520,000. Even if the Demon King sent his strongest Black Iron Realm fighters after me, I felt ready. For bosses still remained in the zone. I pulled out another random scroll, but stopped when a message tagged me directly in the region channel. It was from an elf named Leah, the same one who had solo killed a level 100 boss earlier. She sent me coordinates for a level 170 boss currently being fought by 2 demon faction teams, along with a screenshot. The channel immediately erupted with people laughing and calling her clever for using me to disrupt the demon groups. I smiled. Having someone feed me coordinates saved a lot of time searching blind. I gritted my teeth and spent 400,000 gold on a targeted teleport scroll, telling myself I had already made several million, so it was worth it. I teleported directly to the coordinates. When I opened my eyes, I was standing in a barren valley. In the center, a massive boss was surrounded by demon race fighters mid-battle. The demon group was too focused on the boss to notice me arrive. I scanned it quickly. Level 170 Dragon Race boss, 700,000 health, already down to 4 million, magic-based attacker. The demon team was getting tired. I did not wait. I fired meteor arrow rain straight into the group. 6 melee fighters died instantly. The remaining 4 spotted me and started screaming my name, including one of Fun Ye's surviving followers. All 4 turned their attacks on me while the boss also locked onto me and blasted purple flames at my shield. I ignored the incoming damage and fired 1 arrow at the closest demon fighter. 1 shot, instant kill. The other 3 started panicking. One of them was already tearing a random scroll to escape. I killed 2 more in quick succession, then locked onto the one trying to flee. He disappeared into teleport light with a smug grin, thinking he had made it. I fired 1 arrow into the air anyway. A few seconds later, the merit point notification appeared. The dragon boss had been standing there taking arrow rain damage the whole time. By the time I looked back at it, only a sliver of health remained. I finished it with 1 more shot. 80 points. 8-star origin pearls, 80,000 gold, and 2 silver grade items dropped. I equipped the leg armor and listed the magic staff for 1,000,000 gold. I used all 8 pearls immediately and shot up to level 127. I was just about to tear another random scroll when a black arrow and a crimson lightning bolt both slammed into my shield at the same time from different directions. Before I could react, 6 demon race fighters closed in from all sides with killing intent in their eyes. So this was the Demon King's gift. One of them looked at me and said I was nothing special. I looked back at the 6 of them, spotted the archer and the mage, and decided talking was a waste of time. I raised my bow and shot the archer in the face without a word. Nearly 200,000 damage. Dead before he hit the ground. The remaining 5 stared in shock. Then one of them snapped and said to rush me and break my shield. They charged in and started chaining stun and freeze effects on me one after another. Every second I spent locked down, they hammered my shield. It dropped from 500,000 to 400,000 to 300,000 to 15,000 in what felt like no time at all. I was furious, but I kept my head. The moment the last control effect wore off, I aimed meteor arrow rain directly above myself and simultaneously locked the mage with a single arrow. The rain wiped out all 4 melee fighters in one wave. The mage dropped at the same moment. Done in seconds. I stood in the middle of the bodies, took a deep breath, used the chat system camera to photograph the scene, then tore a random scroll and vanished. I landed in a forest and thought over the last fight. My attack power was strong, but I had a clear weakness. I could not handle being chained with control effects. The enemies this time were lower level, so the stuns only lasted about a second each, but as enemies grew stronger, those durations would get longer. If I got surrounded like that again at higher levels, even my damage would not save me. I checked my skill list. There was a skill called Holy Healing Wind that could solve this problem, but unlocking it required 9 Chaos Flames. I looked up the price on the merchant system. Each one started at 20 million gold, and there were not even 9 available. I closed the window immediately. The only realistic way to get Chaos Flames was through the new player Chaos Dragon event, where finishing in the top 50 apparently guaranteed some. I was confident I could rank high, just unsure how many I would receive. Until I had that skill unlocked, I decided to keep a lower profile and stop drawing unnecessary attention. I kept tearing random scrolls looking for the remaining 3 bosses. I went through more than 10 with no luck. Then an announcement came through. The level 140 boss had been taken down by a mechanical race squad. That left only the level 180 and the level 199. Meanwhile, I had no idea that a chaotic standoff was happening at the level 180 boss location. Several teams from different races had found it at the same time and were shouting at each other, but nobody wanted to make the first move. The Alliance side had elves and dwarves. The demon side had beast race and spirit race. Everyone was threatening everyone else. Then a bullet flew out from the direction of the neutral dragon and mechanical race observers and hit a demon faction member in the head. The mechanical race kid claimed it was an accident with a completely straight face. Nobody believed him. That single shot set everything off. Both sides charged each other, and the whole area erupted into a full brawl. Skills flew everywhere, fireballs and ice arrows, lightning and wind blades clashing in every direction. The Alliance side was slowly losing ground and taking heavy casualties. An elf archer in the middle of it all quietly opened the region channel and sent out a message. I had been burning through random scrolls for a while with nothing to show for it when the region channel tagged me again. Coordinates for the level 180 boss with a screenshot attached. The image showed multiple races already fighting over it. I hesitated for a second wondering if it was a trap, but I had almost no other options left. Only 2 bosses remained, and missing this one could mean waiting who knows how long for the next event. I buffed myself fully, bought a targeted teleport scroll, and jumped to the coordinates. I landed in a small basin surrounded by mountains. The air smelled like blood. I looked ahead and saw more than 10 enemy faction fighters attacking the last remaining elf. She went down right as I arrived. The ground was covered in elf and dwarf bodies. I fired meteor arrow rain without hesitation. Every single one of them died before they could react. I walked over to the fallen elf archer and quietly closed her eyes. I told her I had avenged them. When I looked up, 2 groups were staring at me. Dragon Race and Mechanical Race, both neutral factions. The Dragon Warrior said I was as strong as rumored and quickly clarified his group had nothing to do with the earlier fighting. The Mechanical Race agreed just as fast. I told them I was only here for the boss. The Mechanical Race kid who had fired that earlier bullet said they got here first. I replied that arrival order meant nothing, only strength mattered. A Dragon Warrior stepped forward and proposed that everyone switch to peace mode and attack the boss freely. Whoever dealt more than half the damage and was still standing at the kill would claim it. It sounded fair to everyone. What the Dragon Warrior was actually thinking was that with 5 Dragon Race fighters in perfect coordination, they would easily outdamage one person. He had seen my arrow rain hit for around 150,000. The boss had 8 million health. He figured there was no way I could compete. I agreed to his proposal with a smile and let them all charge in first. I stood back and checked the boss stats. Level 180, 8 million health, heavy magic attacker. I calculated quickly. My star fall could hit over 13 million. One shot would end it. Exposing that kind of power would reveal my hand. But I thought about it and decided it did not matter anymore. Staying hidden just makes others think you are an easy target. I was already famous. A little more attention would not change things. While the dragon and mechanical teams hammered away at the boss and whispered to each other about how I had probably given up, I raised my bow and charged Starfall. The golden arrow left my bow like a meteor. The boss barely reacted before the impact hit. 13,400,000 damage. Critical hit. The boss dropped immediately. Region announcement. 90 points. Kill confirmed to me. Both groups froze completely. A dragon warrior near the boss, when it fell, said his soul had trembled from the force of that single arrow. A mechanical fighter shouted that a 10 million plus hit was impossible at this stage of the game. I let them talk for a moment and then started walking slowly toward them. Both groups parted to let me through as I walked up and collected all the loot from the ground. I gave them a small smile, said goodbye, and tore a random scroll to leave. I heard one of them call me a monster as I vanished. I appeared beside a quiet stream and checked my rewards. 9-star origin pearls, 90,000 gold, and 2 silver grade items. I used all 9 pearls immediately and jumped to level 136. I swapped on the new boots and listed the ring for 80,000 gold. My stats were looking strong. Spirit power, nearly 70,000. Physical attack, over 14,000. With War God blessing, my total attack reached over 37,000. Health above 50,000, and my shield could absorb massive amounts of damage. My movement speed had also jumped significantly with the new boots, and I noticed right away how much lighter I felt even just jogging around. I had almost everything I needed. The one gap was a proper support class weapon. I was hoping the last boss would drop one, otherwise I would need to buy or trade for one using points. Then a system message rang out across the entire zone. The level 199 boss had appeared at specific coordinates. The system was broadcasting its exact location to everyone. Any adventurer who participated in the kill would receive 1-star origin pearl guaranteed. Whoever landed the killing blow would receive 19 additional pearls on top of that. I confirmed the free teleport immediately. I arrived in a vast desert plain. The boss stood about 200 meters away from me, glowing cold blue from head to base. Its body was wider at the bottom like a fortress, one arm gripping a massive hammer wrapped in crackling arcs of electricity. It was completely still because nobody had entered its attack range yet. Flashes of teleport light kept appearing all around as adventurers from every race poured in and scrambled toward their respective faction groups. I ran toward the nearest dwarf race group and joined them. I scanned the boss. Level 199, special type. 20 million health points. 50,000 in attack, physical defense, and magic defense. Every single stat was more than double the level 180 boss. I took a breath. Without my shield, even those 6 demon elites who came to kill me earlier probably could not survive 2 hits from this thing. No wonder the system wanted everyone here at once. I noticed something interesting though. We were already standing at my maximum bow range of 200 meters, and the boss had not attacked anyone yet. That meant its attack range was less than 200 meters. If it could not move, it would essentially be a stationary target I could hit freely from maximum range while staying completely safe. Starfall was still on cooldown, but I was not worried. My regular charge shots could hit for over 800,000, and I still had 9-star chain available. I decided to hold position and watch how things developed first as more and more adventurers from every race packed in around the boss in a large ring. Looking at the growing crowd around the boss, I started to feel uneasy. Even with a shield holding 700,000 health, this many people attacking me at once could become a problem if the demon faction broke the peace agreement. A dragon race fighter named AO stepped forward and proposed that everyone switch to peace mode and attack only the boss. The dragon and mechanical races would act as neutral monitors. One by one, the alliance races agreed. The demon faction agreed too, though I noticed a group of them quietly pointing at a scarred young man nearby and whispering to each other about revenge for fun once the fighting started. They had mistaken that guy for me. Nobody wanted to fire the first shot at the boss and trigger its aggro. Everyone crept forward slowly. I had no intention of waiting. Starfall was still on cooldown, but 9-star chain was ready. I aimed in a completely different direction to hide my position and let the arrows fly. 9 golden streaks curved through the air and slammed into the boss. The damage numbers came back enormous, including a critical hit near 1.5 million. 9 hits combined took nearly 8 million health off the boss in one attack. Everyone froze and looked around trying to find who had fired. A few dragon and mechanical race members just shook their heads and smiled sadly, saying the boss was out of reach for everyone else now. The boss roared and began charging its hammer for a massive area lightning attack covering 150 meters. Chaos broke out immediately. People tried to flee, but the crowd was so dense nobody could move fast enough. Distant attackers took quick shots and ran. Close-range fighters were trapped. I stayed calm, took another shot while the boss charged, and watched it lose another 700,000 health. Then the boss released the attack. Lightning tore open the sky and poured down in every direction from the boss outward. Adventurers nearest to it died within seconds. Others ran with smoke rising from their burned clothes. The support healers tried to keep up, but their healing was nothing against that kind of sustained damage. Then I realized the boss could move. It started advancing directly toward me. I held my ground and kept firing until it got close enough to hit me. 70,000 damage per second to my shield. At that rate, I had maybe 10 seconds before it broke. I ran. The boss chased me across the desert, but could not quite catch me. My new boots had pushed my movement speed just high enough to stay ahead. I turned around and fired arrows back at it while running, kiting it away from everyone else and slowly draining its health. The crowd watched from a safe distance. I heard voices saying I had already taken the boss below half health alone. Someone called me handsome. Someone else told them to get away from them. While all this was happening, the demon group finally noticed their mistake. The scarred man they had been targeting was not me. They quietly regrouped and started moving to flank my actual position. The boss was below 800,000 health and 9-star chain, had about 10 seconds left on cooldown. I wanted to create some distance to give myself time to charge the shot properly, so I sped up. Then 5 demon fighters appeared directly in front of me. One of them hit me with a stun before I could react, and the others piled on immediately. My shield dropped by 100,000 in one chain of hits. The moment the stun wore off, another one landed, and my shield fell to 10,000 health. Then the boss caught up, and its lightning storm hit everything in the area, including the 5 demon fighters. They lasted 2 seconds before being wiped out entirely. I quickly switched to my fan, threw up a fresh shield on myself, and switched back to Alliance attack mode. Standing there watching those demon fighters get destroyed by their own trap, an idea formed in my head. I led the boss straight toward the demon faction's main group. The demon fighters scattered in every direction screaming. I ran in front of the boss, keeping its aggro locked on me with occasional arrows while the lightning storm rolled through their entire position. I was not technically attacking any of them. The boss was doing all the work. The other races watched in stunned silence before breaking into cheers and laughter. Dragon Race AO said he liked my style. The elves and dwarves were delighted. The demon faction's allies complained, but could not do anything since I had not actually attacked anyone in violation of the peace agreement. After clearing most of the demon group, I pulled my attention back to the boss. Its health was under 700,000. I charged up 9-star chain fully and released all 9 arrows. They hit like thunderbolts. The boss staggered backward with each impact, health dropping rapidly until it hit 0. It let out one final roar and collapsed into nothing. 250 points awarded to me. Region announcement broadcast my name across the entire zone. The battlefield went completely silent. I walked over to the boss remains looking for loot and found absolutely nothing on the ground. AOU came over and extended one of his enormous dragon claws for a handshake. He explained that the level 199 boss never drops items. It exists purely as a guaranteed star origin pearl delivery system for everyone who participates. The pearls get mailed automatically to each participant. He also mentioned that normally the boss only goes into berserk mode in its final phase, but my opening shot had enraged it immediately from the start. I scratched my head and apologized, saying it was my first time here. AOU went quiet. I checked my mail and found 2 new messages. 1 pearl for participating, 19 more for landing the kill. I used all 20 immediately and shot up to level 156. Halfway through the Black Iron Realm, already on my first visit to the neutral zone. The system announced that the hunting event was over and gave everyone 10 minutes before forced teleport. The safe zone exchange shop would stay open during that time. I checked my points. 610 total. More than enough for the Gold Supreme Honor Medal I had been eyeing since I first arrived. I walked straight to the Crystal Tower and spent 500 points on it without hesitating. The medal appeared in my hand, deep blue with a mysterious glow. I pinned it on and felt a surge of power immediately. 100,000 health, 10,000 spirit power, 5,000 each in physical attack, magic attack, and both defenses all in one item. I had 110 points left and decided to spend 100 of them on a gold grade fan. My current fan was far too low level. The one that appeared was called the Star Abyss Dream Fan, giving 4,000 magic attack for 1,000 spirit power and a 5% boost to all support effects. That last bonus would stack incredibly well with my already enormous spirit power. I opened my stats to check everything together. Level 156. Life points nearly 173,000. Spirit power broke 100,000 for the first time. My shield health crossed 1 million. Physical attack over 19,000, meaning with War God blessing my total attack was over 55,000. A fully charged 3-second shot would break 1 million damage. Starfall would hit 22 million. I stood there for a moment just taking it all in. The numbers were almost unreal. My only remaining weakness was still the control skill problem. I needed those chaos flames to unlock Holy Healing Wind as soon as possible. The only realistic way to get them was through the upcoming new player Chaos Dragon event. I was genuinely looking forward to it. The 10-second countdown for forced teleport began. I appeared back in Kyoto's Central Plaza alongside countless other returning adventurers. Light columns were dropping everywhere as people poured out of different neutral zones. Before I could even get my bearings, a familiar voice called my name. It was Tang Si, walking toward me with a huge grin. He told me he had come to challenge the Illusion Realm and showed off his level 30 full gold-grade equipment with obvious pride. Nearly 5,000 attack and nearly 7,000 health. He called it impressive. I told him I had already cleared it. He stared. Then came a flood of questions. Did I get a group attack skill? Was I past level 99? Did I challenge the Chaos Tower? Did I break the record? I smiled and told him most of it could wait. I offered to cast my buffs on him before he entered the Illusion Realm, even though I could not go in myself anymore. His eyes lit up immediately, and he asked if one of them was War God Blessing. When I cast my buffs on Tang, his jaw nearly hit the floor. Over 36,000 attack added, and a shield worth over 1 million health. He asked how my support abilities had become so insane. I told him I had made a quick trip to the neutral zone. He looked horrified and said I was crazy for going alone. I shrugged and said sometimes you have to take risks to get what you want. I redirected him toward the Illusion Realm entrance and reminded him the blessing only lasts 30 minutes. I told him to come out when it expires and I would reapply it. He slapped his chest confidently and said with buffs like these he would go straight for the 10 times difficulty zone and hit level 99 in under an hour. Before he could walk away, a voice cut through the crowd, dripping with sarcasm. I looked over and saw Wu Hao strolling toward us with his arm around a young woman, wearing full gold-grade armor and a smug expression. He pointed out that as a 6-star mage he would not dare make a claim like that, let alone a 1-star class like Tang Si. When Wu Hao noticed me, his expression flickered for just a moment. I caught it. He recovered fast, but I had already read his face. He was surprised I was still alive. I stayed calm, but inside I was seething. This was the person who had burned my room and sent people to kill me. Wu Hao ignored me and turned the conversation into a challenge aimed at Tang Si, mocking him about the 10 times zone. Tang Si smiled and proposed a bet. First one to reach level 99 wins. Wu Hao hesitated briefly, remembering the last time he lost a bet to Tang Si and how it had embarrassed him publicly. But this time he was confident. Full gold-grade equipment and a 6-star class against a 1-star knife user. He agreed to 20 million gold coins as the wager, trying to look like it was nothing to him. The crowd started buzzing. People recognized Wu Hao as having the same rare job class as the nation's leader. Others debated whether Tang Si was actually strong or just riding on family connections. Neither of them paid attention to the gossip. They nodded at each other and walked into the illusion realm together, with the young woman following close behind. I stayed at the entrance and waited. Tang Si came out once for me to reapply his buffs, then went straight back and looking even more confident than before. 45 minutes passed. The crowd outside kept growing as word spread about the bet. Then I noticed someone familiar arrive. Zhao Shilai, the stellar class powerhouse who had helped me before. He had come for some other business nearby, but stopped when he saw the scene. He was not paying attention to the bet at all, though. He was staring directly at me. Zhao Shilai had apparently been staring at me from the crowd the whole time. I only found out later that seeing my level 156 had sent him into shock. He kept rubbing his eyes and even pulled out eye drops. He could not figure out how someone could gain that many levels in just a few hours on their first neutral zone visit. He quietly called Elderwind to report what he had seen. I was not paying attention to any of that. I was watching the illusion realm entrance waiting for Tang Si. He came out looking tired but happy. I checked his level. 99, right on schedule. The crowd murmured in disbelief that a 1-star class had beaten a 6-star mage to the finish line. Tang Si walked over grinning, and I told him he was kind of slow. He said nobody could compare to me and rolled his eyes. Then he got excited waiting for Wu Hao to come out and settle the bet. An hour and a half later, Wu Hao and his companion finally emerged. Both at 99, but his face was dark. He could not understand how Tang Si had kept up with monsters that should have been one-shotting him. Tang Si's damage had been 10 times higher than his own inside. It had completely destroyed his confidence in his 6-star class. He looked at me and asked what I had done. I smiled coldly and told him he would find out soon enough. He threatened me quietly and walked away. Tang Si shouted after him about the 20 million gold coins. Wu Hao threw a purple coin card over his shoulder without turning around and kept walking. Tang Si caught it and immediately said we were splitting it 50-50. I thanked him and accepted without arguing. He pretended to complain when I called him Little C, but I could tell he actually liked it. It meant I saw him as a real friend. He said he was heading to the Chaos Tower next. I reminded him that equipment bonuses and external buffs like War God Blessing would not work inside. He told me not to worry and quietly revealed that he had already inherited 3 top-tier skills in advance. He was confident. We walked to the Chaos Tower together. The area was busy as usual. I spotted Elderwind, Zhao Shilai, and Wu Hao in the crowd. Elderwind caught my eye and shook his head slightly, signaling me not to approach them. A crowd had gathered around the record stone tablet. People were reading my 1-second clear time out loud and reacting with disbelief. Someone mentioned that the official channels had stayed quiet about it because of my father's reputation as a traitor. Elderwind and Zhao Shilai were standing nearby having their own quiet conversation. Zhao Shilai said my master Chu Lanfeng had specifically instructed them not to interfere with anything involving me and to let me grow freely. Elderwind added that this included dropping any investigation into my parents. Zhao Shilai agreed, though I could hear a trace of frustration in his voice about everything he and Elderwind had tried to do for me that Chu Lanfeng had handled with a single visit. Meanwhile, Wu Hao had also seen the record tablet. He stared at the 1-second time, and his expression went completely cold. He did the math and realized it meant I had dealt over 100,000 damage with no equipment bonuses. To him, that was impossible. But the stone did not lie. He stood there with jealousy and anger and something darker mixing across his face. He had underestimated me from the very beginning, and every single time the gap between us had only grown wider. He made a silent decision that he could not allow me to keep developing like this. Tang Si came out of the Chaos Tower, sighing heavily. He had finished in 80 seconds, earning an E grade. For a 1-star class with 3 inherited top-tier skills, that was actually respectable, but he was comparing himself to me and feeling low about it. I told him every person grows at their own pace, and that he had already proven himself. He thought about it for a second, then suddenly remembered he was rich with great equipment and cheered right up. I could not really argue with that logic. Meanwhile, the crowd had spotted Wu Hao's new record on the stone tablet. 22 seconds, S grade, pushing the nation's leader down to 4th place. People were genuinely impressed. Wu Hao stood there soaking up the praise with obvious satisfaction. Tang Si responded by pulling out a stack of purple coin cards and fanning himself with them. Wu Hao's eye twitched. Then 2 system announcements hit at the same time. The first said that 10 new players from this generation had already reached level 100, so the new player rankings would open in 10 minutes at the Kyoto notice board. The second announced that the Chaos Dragon event would begin every evening at 7 for 1 year, automatically transporting eligible players who were level 100 or above. Everyone around started buzzing about the rankings and the event. Some newer players were panicking about being too low level. Others were arguing about who among this generation's talents would rank highest. Someone mentioned that only the top 50 in the Chaos Dragon event would receive Chaos Flames, which caused more anxiety among support class players who had no damage output. I felt a knot in my stomach when I heard about the rankings. At level 156, I was going to stand out enormously compared to everyone else who had just hit 100. Tang Si dragged me to the notice board before I could even think about it. The crowd around the board was thick and getting louder. People were guessing Jun Moku or other known talents for first place. Then the list appeared. First place, Yi Ming, 9-star Divine Grace Spirit Master, level 156. Everyone else on the list was level 100. The plaza erupted. People could not process the gap. Someone in the crowd said they had been in the neutral zone during the same hunt and confirmed I had essentially cleared every boss myself. They said they had nothing but endless respect. Tang Si shook my shoulder excitedly and asked if I had really cleared the whole neutral zone alone. I told him to be quiet and pulled him away immediately. As we left, I could feel eyes following me from every direction. Curiosity, suspicion, and open hostility from some corners. I knew that at my current stage there were still plenty of higher-level fighters who could kill me easily if they wanted to. I needed to stay careful and keep moving. I did not bother looking back at Wu Hao, but I could feel his stare burning into my back as we walked away. Tang Si pulled free from my grip and said it was getting late anyway. He wanted to take me somewhere to rest before the Chaos Dragon event started. I had nowhere else to be, so I agreed. He led me to a parking lot outside the plaza, pulled out a gold key, and clicked it. A loud beep came from a sleek golden sports car nearby. He opened the passenger door for me with a proud grin. I had never sat in anything like it. The leather seats were soft and smooth, and the engine sound when he started it was deep and powerful. He casually mentioned that he would have gotten a flying vehicle license already if he were 20 yet. I had nothing to say to that. Half an hour later, we pulled up to a large luxury villa in the city. Inside, it was spacious and elegantly decorated, the kind of place I had only ever imagined. Tang Si handed me a drink and told me to make myself comfortable. I asked if it was his house. He said his sister lived there mainly. Right on cue, a young woman in casual sleepwear came down the stairs from the 2nd floor. Tang Si introduced her as his sister Tang Shan. She smiled warmly and shook my hand. I fumbled a greeting and called her third sister Tang before my brain caught up. That explained why he was called Tang Si. She told me Tang Si had been talking about me nonstop and calling me someone special. I felt embarrassed, but she seemed sincere. Then she got to the point and told me she was the general manager of the Dragon Glory Merchant Guild, the largest in the Dragon Nation. She proposed a partnership. Any excess high-grade equipment, rare materials, or chaos flames I came across, I would give her guild first priority to buy at prices higher than any competitor. In return, they would give me access to their high-grade inventory and purchasing rights. It was a good deal. I agreed on the spot. She smiled, shook my hand again, said cooperative and happy, then went back upstairs to handle other business. Tang Si immediately offered to gear me out in a full set of level 100 gold equipment. I turned him down. He had already given me enough, and I was confident in what I already had. He shrugged and mentioned his own setup was sitting at over 16,000 attack. I rolled my eyes at him. Then I noticed 2 unread mail notifications. I opened them. The first was 1 million gold coins for ranking first on the new player leaderboard. Daily reward. The second was a star prison key fragment, 1 piece, unable to be traded, with a note saying 365 fragments were needed to complete the full key. I laughed out loud at the gold coin reward. Tang Si asked what I was so happy about, and I told him about the daily rankings reward. He said his own was only 300,000, and he had not even bothered collecting it. I stared at the key fragment for a while thinking about what it might open. Something called the Star Prison Key, 1 piece per day for a full year. The name of this world was Star Prison Realm. I started to wonder if the key was literally meant to open this world somehow. That was a big thought to sit with. For now, though, I just needed to hold first place every single day. I was confident about that. Then the system announced the Chaos Dragon event would begin in 10 minutes and asked all eligible new players to confirm their participation. Tang Si and I confirmed our participation and teleported in together. We appeared on a large circular platform about 200 meters across, floating in open void with 8 massive stone pillars around the edges. Each pillar had a bright light pointing toward the center and a high-definition camera that was already rotating and scanning the entire platform. Tang Si frowned and said this was basically the show people watched on television every night. I told him to relax since we were not ugly. He laughed nervously. I found the rule board at the edge of the platform and read it carefully while we waited. The concept was simple. The Chaos Dragon has infinite health. Everyone attacks it alone for 10 minutes. Whoever deals the most total damage ranks highest. No teams, no external buffs. The rewards were what I really cared about. First place earned 9 Chaos Flames. Second place 6. Third place 4. Places 4 through 10 gave 3. 51st through 31st gave 1 each. 9 Chaos Flames. Exactly what I needed to unlock Holy Healing Wind. I clenched my fist. First place every single time. That was the goal. Jun Moku showed up, and I was genuinely glad to see him. He seemed calmer and steadier than the last time. He announced his goal was second place. I sighed. Some things do not change. I introduced him to Tang Si, and they exchanged greetings. Tang Si immediately tried to gift him a gold equipment set. Jun Moku said he was already fully geared in gold. I said nothing. Then a deep roar shook the platform, and a massive black dragon materialized from empty air. It was enormous. Standing next to it, we were like ants next to an elephant. Its eyes burned like twin flames, and when it spread its wings, they blocked out half the sky. I scanned it. Level 999, infinite health, all stats at 999. Basically a damage dummy designed purely to measure output. The description even called it a respectable elder who brings chaos flames from the abyss every day. I almost smiled at that. Back in homes across the country, people were apparently settling in with snacks to watch this as their nightly entertainment. I overheard people saying support classes had no chance since buffs did not apply. Some were predicting Jun Moku or Wu Hao for first place. A few mentioned me, but dismissed it immediately because I was a healer with no attack skill bonuses. The event started without any countdown warning. I pulled my bow back and began charging a regular shot, just to test the water first. I was confident first place was already mine without even using skills. After 1 second, a damage ranking display appeared floating beside the dragon. Jun Moku was first with over 120,000 damage. Wu Hao second with 113,000. A few others followed. Tang Si was fourth. My name was not on the board at all. Everyone except Tang Si and a few others who knew the truth started wondering where I was. Wu Hao was visibly pleased, already assuming I was too weak to even break through the dragon's defense. The crowd watching at home was confused too. I was still charging my shot. 2 seconds passed, and my name still had not appeared on the board. People in the arena started mocking me openly. The crowd watching at home assumed a support class could not even break through the dragon's defense. Wu Hao was mentally already spending the 9 chaos flames he planned to win every day, calculating how many he could sell on the auction house for millions each. Jun Moku was pushing 200,000 total damage. Wu Hao was close behind him, burning to take first place. Everyone was fully committed and outputting hard. I was still charging my shot. 3 seconds into the event, I released. 1 golden arrow hit the dragon with a sound that drowned out every other skill impact on the platform. My name appeared at the top of the board. First place, Yi Ming. Damage value 1,220,000. Second place, Jun Moku had 240,000. Third place, Wu Hao 239,000. Everyone else was far below. The platform went silent for a moment before erupting. Wang Mumu and Su Fingyan looked shaken. Lin Jichong and Loli just sighed like they had expected it. Jun Moku smiled bitterly and said he could no longer see my back. Tang Si shook his head, saying I kept claiming to want a low profile while making that impossible. Wu Hao stared at the number 1,220,000 with his mouth open. He could not process that a healer using a bow had waited 3 seconds and then in one single shot completely buried every attack class on the board by a factor of 5. The television audience across the country was equally chaotic. People called it fake. Others said no equipment level justified that number. Someone tracked down the person who had earlier dismissed me as a useless healer and asked them to come explain themselves. In a meeting room at Beijing North University, school leadership, including the principal Dragon Xiao, was watching the broadcast. Elder Wind told them Chu Lanfeng had given specific orders not to interfere with anything involving me. The principal accepted that and turned back to the screen with visible curiosity about what I would do next. After my one shot, I stopped attacking entirely and just watched. The board stayed frozen with my number at the top, while everyone else slowly climbed. People noticed I had gone still, and some thought I was conserving spirit power. Others realized that with a gap that large I could afford to rest. Wu Hao kept staring at my damage total and felt something close to despair. He could not see a path to catching up, and the frustration was all over his face. My single shot had apparently caused a stir far beyond the platform. I did not know it at the time, but leaders from other universities across the country were watching the broadcast and quietly discussing what my numbers meant. The principal of Huaqing University and the head of Fudan University both took note. None of them could quite explain the damage value. More importantly, something was happening at the top of the National Assembly building in the heart of Kyoto. The nation's leader Xianyuan Yutian was standing at a floor-to-ceiling window when my master Chu Lanfeng appeared behind him out of thin air. The two were clearly old friends, though their relationship was tense. Chu Lanfeng sprawled on the sofa in his usual torn shirt and flip-flops, picked at his foot, and sniffed his finger. Xianyuan Yutian poured him tea without complaint, like he had seen this 1,000 times. Chu Lanfeng told him directly that he had taken me as his disciple and wanted the nation's leader to stop causing me trouble. He also asked for a specific item that apparently belonged to both of them jointly. Xianyuan Yutian agreed to leave me alone and handed over the item, something that looked like a jade seal. But the conversation quickly turned heated. Chu Lanfeng accused him of suppressing talented people across the nation for decades in pursuit of his own breakthrough to a higher realm, nearly creating a generational gap in human race strength. Xianyuan Yutian fired back that Chu Lanfeng had interfered with his plans. Both of them raised their voices. Xianyuan Yutian argued that only by reaching the sovereign realm could the human race have a real future. Chu Lanfeng called him lost, saying he had stripped away his own emotions and was draining the human race's fortune just to chase power. He said that kind of strength built on imbalance would never succeed. Neither of them budged. Chu Lanfeng shook his head with disappointment and vanished. The office went quiet again. Xianyuan Yutian turned back to the window, and his eyes went cold. He told himself that no one could stop his plan. Back on the platform, I was still standing quietly watching the board. People kept debating whether I was saving energy or preparing something. My number sat unmoved at 1,220,000, while everyone else slowly climbed. Wu Hao had overtaken Jun Moku for second place. His Thunder Mage class was pure output, and the damage was showing. Jun Moku noticed, and his expression shifted. He gripped his sword tighter. Except for me, he refused to lose to anyone. I kept standing still, and the crowd watching on television got increasingly frustrated. Some were calling me arrogant for not attacking more. Others defended me, pointing out that exposing your full strength in a public broadcast made no sense strategically. The arguments went back and forth. Wu Hao was the most affected. He kept muttering that a support class could not possibly hit those numbers through normal means. The gap between us was eating at him more and more with every passing second. Then he completely snapped. He turned away from the dragon and launched his strongest lightning skill directly at me. It hit my shield and did nothing. Safe zone rules applied. Tang Si shouted at him, asking if he had lost his mind. His companion grabbed his arm and reminded him quietly that we were in a safe zone. Wu Hao blinked and looked around at everyone staring at him. He had genuinely lost control for a moment. I watched him calmly. I said nothing out loud, but inside I made a note. This person wanted me dead badly enough to forget where he was. I turned back to the dragon and started attacking again with regular shots. No charging, just maintaining enough output to hold first place comfortably. Back at the university, the Principal Dragon Xiao watched Wu Hao's outburst and quietly told Elder Wind to cut Wu Hao's school resources in half upon enrollment as a consequence of his poor conduct. The 10-second warning sounded, and everyone pushed hard for the final stretch. When the event ended and the full results appeared, I had first place with nearly 12 million total damage. Wu Hao was second, just slightly behind me. Jun Moku was third. The others followed in a tight cluster. Everyone could see I had been controlling my output the whole time. The final margin was narrow by design. Deng Qixin shook his head, saying he could not believe a healer had beaten every combat class. Luali said she was going to learn support skills after enrolling. Tang Si cheered like he had personally earned the score. Jun Moku stood quietly in front of the board feeling troubled, not just about losing to me, but about being edged out for second place by Wu Hao as well. Wu Hao was shaking. He stared at my number, and something darker than jealousy moved across his face. He told himself silently that if he let me keep growing there would be no place left for him. He decided he needed to do something about me immediately, whatever it took. The event ended, and all 10 of us were teleported back simultaneously. One moment I was on the platform, the next I was sitting on the sofa in the villa as if nothing had happened. Tang Si was still buzzing with excitement. He laughed and said everyone else had been desperately trying to maximize their damage while I had been trying not to hit too much. I told him 6th place was solid for him. He waved it off and admitted his equipment had carried him, saying without the gear advantage he would have been last. I pointed out that having money and great equipment was his actual strength. He could not argue with that. I opened my mail and took out 9 chaos flames. The whole living room lit up with their glow. Tang Si looked at his own 3 flames and suddenly felt a lot less satisfied with them. I opened my skill menu and unlocked Holy Healing Wind without hesitating. The 9 flames dissolved into light and flowed into me. The gray skill icon lit up instantly. I read the description carefully. Permanent immunity to all negative status effects and control skills. I could also actively cleanse control effects from targets up to 100 levels above me, costing 100 spirit power with a 30-second cooldown. I felt something settle in my chest reading that. No more getting chained by stuns. No more standing frozen while enemies pile on. Immune to everything negative. The weakness that had been eating at me since those demon fighters nearly killed me was gone. I looked at the 3 remaining locked skills. The next one I wanted was the Divine Oracle Damage Seal, which would double physical damage dealt to a target while having magic damage. If I had used it on the dragon tonight, every physical attacker would have doubled their output and magic users like Wu Hao would have been cut in half. I could already picture his reaction. That skill needed 6 chaos flames. After that was a time control skill requiring 18 flames, and finally a resurrection ability requiring 36 flames. A resurrection technique. In this entire world, I had never heard of anyone possessing one. That alone made it something I needed to obtain as fast as possible, but it would take time. Tang Si called me over for dinner. I realized I had not eaten all day and was genuinely exhausted. I accepted his offer to stay in the villa without putting up any argument. Tang Shan met us in the dining room dressed in a maid outfit and welcomed us back as dragon-slaying heroes. Tang Si groaned at her. I went red and stammered a thank you. She had ordered takeout and also made 1 dish herself. Tang Si took 1 bite of the homemade vegetables, spat it out, and asked how much salt she had used. She pretended to be offended. The 3 of us ate and laughed, and it was the most relaxed I had felt all day. After dinner, Tang Si led me to a guest room and handed me a silver white metal bracelet. I looked at it confused and asked what it was. Tang Si explained that the bracelet was an arena connector. I could wear it while sleeping and my consciousness would be transferred into a virtual combat arena while my body rested safely. The bracelet had a warning system built in that would alert me if any danger approached my physical body. I lay down, put the bracelet on, focused my spirit power inward, and felt my awareness begin to fade. A moment later, I was standing in a grand hall beside Tang Si. The hall was enormous, filled with adventurers from various races moving in every direction. Most of them had glowing titles floating above their heads with names like Guardian First Stage or Warblade Second Stage. Everything about the place was busy and alive. I found the notice board in the center and read through the rules. The arena used automatic matchmaking for one-on-one fights. Winning earned star points and arena credits. Losing deducted them. The rank system ran from 1st stage through 7th stage, each divided into 1 through 9 stars. Winning 10 consecutive matches at any stage promoted you to the next. The titles earned at each rank came in 2 types, one reducing damage taken by 5% and one increasing damage dealt by 5%. You could only keep one at a time and would lose it if you dropped back down. I checked the exchange shop. Gold grade equipment cost 1,000 credits each. Star grade cost 1 million. I decided to just start playing and figure out the credit rate from experience. Then I heard a familiar voice. Jun Moku came jogging over waving his bracelet. I asked where he had gotten it. He said it came with the university enrollment package. All accepted students received one. That landed quietly. I had not received any enrollment package. Tang Si noticed my expression shift and quickly told me his grandfather and Elder Wind had arranged the bracelet for me specifically. I nodded and let it go, but something had clicked into place. I had topped every ranking available to me, cleared content nobody expected me to clear, and still the official system had not acknowledged me in any way because of my parents. I was being kept outside the structure deliberately. I thought about it for a moment and made a decision. I was still too weak to change any of that. Elder Wind and my master believed in me. For now, the only thing that mattered was getting stronger. The answers I wanted would come when I was ready to demand them. Tang Si asked if I was ready. I pushed everything else aside and smiled. We followed the markers to the center of the arena where a massive circular metal platform rotated slowly on the floor, covered in star patterns and surrounded by rings of glowing energy. Tang Si said it was called the Star Abyss Hub and was how matches were initiated and players teleported to combat zones. Jun Moku was practically vibrating with excitement. He said his sword had been hungry long enough. I placed my hand on the sensor, and the system scanned me and registered my starting rank at 1 star. Each match cost 1,000 gold coins to enter. Looking at the 15 million plus in my wallet, I confirmed without a second thought. My first opponent was a beast race warrior at level 100, also 1-star rank. The match started and he charged at me with a giant sword. Halfway across the arena, his eyes went wide as 9 golden arrows locked onto him and closed the distance faster than he could react. The arrows hit him for over 1 million combined damage, including a critical. He dissolved into light before he reached me. 1 point earned. Rank moved to 2 stars. When I came back to the lobby, I discovered that every skill cooldown had been fully reset between matches. That meant Starfall was available every single fight. I nearly laughed. Nobody below the Platinum Realm was surviving that. I touched the sensor again for a second match. The system found my next opponent and I transferred in. I quickly applied my buffs again and started charging Starfall, locking onto my target. Then I looked across the arena and recognized the face. Wu Hao. Out of however many players in the system, we had been matched together. His expression said everything. He was furious, but also determined not to look weak. The match started and he immediately activated a lightning evasion skill that boosted his dodge rate by 50% and greatly increased his agility and movement speed for 5 seconds. He started moving in an S pattern across the arena instead of coming straight at me, trying to make himself harder to track. I watched him zigzag back and forth and did not release my arrow. He kept going, growing more uncertain with each pass. Eventually his patience broke and he rushed at me from the side, saw that my bow was still pointing in the original direction, and took it as an opening. He started charging his strongest lightning skill, convinced he had me fooled. I smiled and let the arrow fly. My tracking ability had been locked on him the entire time. The arrow curved through the air and hit him regardless of where he had moved. 21,960,000 damage. Critical hit. He vanished into light mid-cast with a look of pure disbelief on his face. 2 points earned. Rank moved to 3 stars. When I came back out, Wu Hao was already waiting. He demanded to know if I had done it on purpose. I smiled but said nothing. He shouted that I should wait, and then stormed out of the arena hall entirely. I kept entering matches without stopping, ending each one with a single Starfall shot. 10 wins in a row pushed me to the promotion match for 1st stage rank. My promotion opponent was a level 199 mechanical race fighter covered in heavy metal armor and holding what looked like a giant sniper rifle. I buffed myself and charged Starfall as usual. The match started and we fired at the same moment. My arrow was faster and hit for over 21 million critical damage, killing them instantly. Their bullets still landed though and hit my shield for 280,000. That shook me a little. If I had not had the shield up, that single shot might have ended me. Clearly some opponents in here were genuinely dangerous. I cleared the promotion and reached first stage rank. The system offered me 2 title choices. Guardian first stage reducing damage taken by 5%, or Warblade first stage adding 5% to all attack damage. I chose Warblade immediately. With my shield providing all the defense I needed, more attack was always the right answer. 5% of 22 million is still over a million extra damage, which is more than most players here could deal in a single hit. A glowing white title appeared above my head. Warblade first stage. Tang Si and Jun Moku came out of their matches right at that moment and stared at my title with complicated expressions. Tang Si said he had only finished 2 fights while I had already promoted. Jun Moku said he had gone 5 fights with 1 loss and found the competition genuinely tough. I told them to take their time. Strength shows itself eventually. Tang Si clenched his fist and said he absolutely would get first stage rank tonight, then jumped back into the queue. Jun Moku and I followed. Over the next 20+ matches I kept winning without much resistance. My rank climbed all the way to 3rd stage 9 stars. My title updated to Warblade 3rd stage, adding 15% attack damage. 1 more win and I would reach 4th stage. My next match was a Dragon Race fighter at level 499, also at 3rd stage 9 stars. When he saw my profile showing level 156, he was confused and then excited, apparently convinced the system had made a mistake and gifted him an easy win. He started celebrating before the match even started, getting emotional and kneeling toward the sky in gratitude. I watched him from across the arena completely puzzled, wondering if he was surrendering. The countdown ended, and he came bouncing toward me with his weapon put away and his arms open like he wanted to hug me. I fired Starfall anyway. He disappeared from the arena mid-skip, still confused about what had happened. When he checked the match log, he saw he had been one-shot by a level 156 human and lost a star in rank. His reaction was loud and not appropriate to repeat here. 4th stage reached. 100 points awarded for the promotion win. The system offered me another title choice. I chose Warblade again without hesitating. 4th stage title, 20% added to all attack damage. My Starfall could now hit over 26 million. My regular charge shot broke 1.5 million. I decided to push for 5th stage and entered my next match. The opponent was a level 501 mechanical race fighter in the Platinum Realm. This was a different level of challenge entirely. They immediately threw up a defensive shield before the countdown even ended, cutting incoming damage by 30% combined with their Guardian title for 50% total reduction. I fired Starfall the moment the match started. Even with all that defense, the hit dropped them from 16 million health down to 3 million. They were stunned by the damage, but survived. Their return shot hit my shield for over 2 million damage. My shield had around 1 million health left at that point, and they still had 3 million. The outcome was obvious. I got eliminated. I came back to the lobby with my rank dropped back to 3rd stage 9 stars, and my title reverted accordingly. I shook my head and accepted the result. 4th stage was my current ceiling. Beyond that, the opponents were in realms I simply could not reach through damage alone yet. I entered 1 more match to climb back to 4th stage. The opponent was familiar. The same Dragon Race fighter from before who had been jumping around excitedly expecting an easy win. He was back at 9 stars after barely recovering his rank. When he saw me again, he crouched down and grabbed his head with a look of complete despair. I fired Starfall. He left the arena with one enormous translucent finger pointed at the sky as he faded out. Back to 4th stage. I chose Warblade again and called it a night. Tang Si and Jun Moku were still in their matches, so I did not wait. I had collected 1,110 arena points total. Gold-grade equipment cost 1,000 points each, which seemed steep, so I decided to save them for later. I exited the arena, and my consciousness returned to my body. I lay in the dark thinking about everything that had happened in one day. I had a clear picture now of how to keep growing. Neutral zone hunts for Star Origin Pearls to level up. Daily Chaos Dragon event for Chaos Flames to unlock skills. Equipment from bosses, merchants, and point exchanges. Arena for titles and credits. Chaos Tower for realm breakthroughs and attribute bonuses. There was still plenty I did not know. The university curriculum apparently covered a lot of this in detail, and I was not going to university. I made a note to ask Zhao Shilai or my master when I saw them next. I fell asleep with a plan forming. I did not know yet that what I had done that day was already spreading through the world channel and drawing attention from places far beyond Kyoto. While I was sleeping, the World Channel had apparently been going wild. Players at level 299, 399, and 499 were all complaining about being one-shot by a level 156 human in the arena. Someone identified me by name and mentioned I was the one who had killed Fenyi. The Demon King Fention himself sent a message saying he looked forward to seeing me in the neutral zone again, which caused another wave of reaction. Wu Hao had been reading the World Channel and figured out the arena complaints were about me. Instead of staying quiet, he started posting to stir up trouble, calling me a threat to the human race. Tang Si fired back immediately, and the two of them went back and forth spending gold coins per message until Wu Hao ran out of funds mid-argument. Someone who turned out to be Tang Si's father eventually cut in and told Tang Si to go to sleep or lose his allowance for the month. I slept through all of it. The next morning, Zhao Shilai called and asked me to come meet him. I knocked on Tang Si's door but got no answer. He had clearly been in the arena fighting until very late. I left him a note and headed out. Half an hour later, I arrived at an outdoor noodle stall. Sitting in the corner were Zhao Shilai and, to my surprise, my master Chu Lanfeng. My master explained he had something to give me, but did not have my contact information, so he had asked Zhao Shilai to call me instead. He handed me the menu and told me Zhao Shilai was paying. Zhao Shilai coughed pointedly. My master ignored him. After I ordered, my master produced an object that looked like an ancient jade seal and placed it on the table in front of me. He said it was something he and the nation's leader had used when they were young, and that he was passing it to me now. I picked it up and read the description. Star Track Sacred Seal. Could precisely locate the coordinates of any target boss within a region. Usable 3 times every 24 hours. I held it carefully and felt something shift in my chest. This was essentially a tracking system that would tell me exactly where every boss was. In the neutral zone, that meant 3 guaranteed boss coordinates every hunt, instead of burning through dozens of random scrolls searching blind. My master explained it had been crafted by a legendary dwarf master smith from a material that came from beyond this world, completely unique. He and the nation's leader had once saved the smith's son, and this was the gift he made for them in secret as thanks. I told my master I would not let him down. He smiled and said there was one more thing he needed to discuss with me. My master finished his noodles, wiped his mouth on his torn shirt, and then produced a rolled-up blueprint from thin air. He said he had found it in a secret realm when he first reached the Supreme Realm and told me to have fun with it. I unrolled it and read the description. Shadow Divine Cloak Blueprint, Supreme Grade. Collecting the required materials and sequence would produce a cloak with stealth, teleportation, and invincibility effects. My hands trembled slightly. Supreme Grade. Even without seeing the final stats, I could already imagine what a cloak with those 3 effects would mean for survival. I thanked my master from the heart. He gave a small smile, said he had other things to handle, flashed gold, and vanished. I turned to Zhao Shilai and asked how to find crafting materials. He explained 3 main ways. Purchasing through a merchant guild with the right clearance level, though rare materials were expensive and restricted. Dropping from bosses inside special dungeons or secret realms. And exchanging through points or merit systems for common materials. That reminded me to ask about merit points since I still had not fully understood them. Zhao Shilai explained that merit points came from killing non-alliance enemy races and could be exchanged at the military preparation office for high-grade equipment and materials. Accumulating enough also allowed you to register for an official military rank, which provided permanent attribute bonuses. I asked about the rank thresholds, and he suggested I check the board at the office directly since he could not remember the exact numbers. I also asked where else I could earn merit points beyond the neutral zone. He mentioned the wilderness zone, border patrol duty, and small-scale racial war events that the system organized to develop combat experience. The racial wars applied at the Bronze Realm level, which I had not reached yet. I said goodbye to Zhao Shilai and caught a taxi to the military preparation office. The hall inside was busy and loud. I found the notice board listing rank requirements. Major needed 100 merit points. Lieutenant Colonel 1,000. Colonel 10,000. All the way up to Field Marshal requiring 10 billion. I had 530. Enough for Major. I walked to the central registration screen and placed my palm on it. The system confirmed my rank as Major and granted a 5% bonus to all attributes across the board, including stats from equipped items. I opened my panel and checked everything. Spirit power now over 104,000. Physical attack over 20,000 base. life points over 180,000. Everything had nudged upward cleanly. The next rank threshold was 1,000 merit points for Lieutenant Colonel. I was already past halfway there. My immediate priority, though, was finding the shadow yarn to start crafting the cloak. With the Demon King almost certainly sending more fighters after me in the next neutral zone hunt, having stealth capability would change everything. I opened the remote merchant system and searched for shadow yarn. Opening the Dragon Glory merchant system, I saw my access had been upgraded to the highest tier. Out of curiosity, I searched for the best available equipment. The top item was a single supreme grade staff priced at 500 billion gold coins. I stared at that number for a moment. A few days ago, I had been counting every 50 gold coin carefully. Now with over 16 million, I had felt rich. Apparently, I was still essentially broke by this world's standards. I searched for shadow yarn across every merchant guild I could access. Nothing. Not a single listing anywhere. I called Zhao Shilai and asked about it. He told me the material came from a dungeon called the Demon Spider Nest, where the final boss had a chance to drop it. The catch was that dungeons in this world appeared randomly anywhere and only lasted 24 hours before disappearing. I posted in the national channel asking if anyone had spotted the Demon Spider Nest. Half an hour passed with people chatting about the material price being around 2 million gold, but nobody had a location. Then a message appeared from someone saying they knew where it was and would share the coordinates if I agreed to their condition. The voice on the phone was a young woman. Her condition was simple. Take her through the dungeon on adventure difficulty and let her keep any black iron grade equipment that dropped. I did not need black iron gear and was not short on money, so I agreed immediately. She gave me the coordinates, and it turned out the dungeon had spawned in a forest just outside Kyoto, close enough to walk. What I did not notice was someone following me through the streets, already on the phone with Wu Hao reporting my movements. I arrived at the dungeon entrance and found a colorful portal standing in the middle of the forest with no visible support. A small crowd had gathered, including elves and dwarves, forming teams to attempt it. A woman in a black cloak stepped forward and confirmed she was the one who had called me. When I introduced myself, she recognized my name immediately and listed off my recent reputation with wide eyes. I told her we should get moving. The dungeon entry cost me 80,000 gold for the scroll, purchased at my guild discount rate. The difficulty selection appeared. I chose Hell difficulty without hesitating. The woman behind me let out a sharp cry. She pulled back her hood, revealing an exhausted but clear-faced young woman. She told me Hell difficulty locked the dungeon at level 199 across all enemies, and that we would be killed instantly. She looked close to tears and said something quietly about not having finished collecting money for her younger brother's medical treatment and not wanting to die here. That stopped me. I looked at her more carefully. The exhaustion on her face was real. I told her calmly not to worry and that I had my reasons for choosing this difficulty. She took a breath and chose to trust me. I looked around the starting area. A circular altar about 50 meters across with no visible exits. Black fog pulsed from the center of the altar, spreading dark energy outward. Cobwebs and unidentifiable bones covered every surface. I looked around the starting area and recognized it as a defense-type dungeon. Waves of enemies would come to us rather than requiring us to search. That suited me fine. I applied my buffs and switched to my fan to cast War God Blessing and Spirit Shield on the girl beside me. Her attack jumped by nearly 38,000 and a million health shield wrapped around her. She stared at her own stats with her mouth open, comparing them to the few thousand attacks she had walked in with. I switched back to my bow and waited. The altar shook and the black fog pulsed. A dense swarm of small spiders began pouring out from the center. They were level 199, but their health was only 200,000 each. Before they had fully appeared, I fired meteor arrow rain into the center of the fog. 410,000 damage per hit. The spiders died faster than they could fully materialize. Wave after wave came out and got erased. After several rounds, the altar floor was covered in spider bodies, and the spawning stopped. Emo Xiaoga stood beside me with her hand over her mouth, staring at the damage numbers. I told her not to space out because the next wave would start soon. She snapped back to attention just as a new sound came from the fog. This time, larger spiders emerged with ranged poison attacks that stacked a damage over time effect. She warned me about the stacking poison. I kept firing arrow rain into the fog. They died as fast as the first wave. She just watched. After that wave cleared, I barely had time to breathe before a massive shadow appeared in the fog. The elite spider stepped out fully, several times larger than anything before it. 2 million health, 25,000 magic attack, and 3 skills including a webbing control effect and berserk bite. Mo Xiaoga tensed immediately and started worrying out loud about what would happen if the control skill caught me. Then she noticed I had my bow drawn with a charged golden arrow but was not releasing it yet. She wondered if I was afraid. The elite spider fully materialized and lunged. She fired a large fireball that hit for over 55,000 damage, her strongest attack. The spider barely flinched and immediately retaliated by spitting poison directly at her. Her shield turned green and started draining at 10,000 health per second. She looked at me desperately. The elite spider immediately followed up its poison attack by launching a web straight at me. Mo Xiaoga cried out in warning. But the moment the web touched me, it simply missed. My Holy Healing Wind passive had triggered, making me immune to all control effects. She thought it was lucky dodging. She had not realized yet that I could not be controlled at all. I smiled and released 9-star chain. 9 golden arrows tracked the spider and hit in rapid succession. The first was a critical for over 3 million damage. The others followed instantly. The spider collapsed with its health completely gone before it could act again and dropped a gray glowing piece of equipment. Mo Xiaoga stood frozen, staring at the damage numbers. I switched to my fan and waved it at her, cleansing the poison that had been eating through her shield. Holy Healing Wind worked exactly as I had hoped. She picked up the black iron equipment and quietly suggested we split the sale value since she really needed money. I told her to keep everything. She thanked me with genuine emotion in her voice and said she would find a way to repay me someday. Then the black fog pulsed again. A low rumbling sound filled the altar and a massive shape began emerging. The final boss, the shadow demon spider, stepped fully into view. Its body was the size of an adult elephant with 8 razor-sharp legs catching the light with each movement. 10 million health, 45,000 magic attack, skills including shadow web, shadow pierce, and spider summoning. Mo Xiaoga swallowed hard and looked at me. From my expression, she could apparently tell I was not worried. If anything, I was excited. I really wanted the shadow yarn to drop on the first run. The boss appeared and immediately began leaping around the altar at high speed, never staying in one spot. Mo Xiaoga tried hitting it with fireballs, but they all missed. The spider dodged everything effortlessly. Then it sent 2 enormous black webs flying at us simultaneously. Mo Xiaoga got caught instantly and froze in place. The web hit me and missed again, same passive trigger. She groaned from inside the web, thinking my luck was unbelievable, not understanding why I kept avoiding control effects. The boss kept jumping and screeching, acting increasingly smug about its evasion strategy. My starfall had finished charging the entire time. I watched it bounce around and thought of that dragon race fighter in the arena who had been zigzagging trying to dodge my locked shot. Same mistake. I released the arrow. The golden streak curved through the air in a smooth arc, tracking the boss through all its movement and connecting cleanly. 27,670,000 damage. Critical hit. The shadow demon spider screamed and crashed to the ground with its health completely emptied. I looked at the loot and my eyes lit up. 2 black iron equipment pieces and 1 large woven material. Shadow yarn. I switched to my fan and cleansed the web binding from Mo Xiaoga with Holy Healing Wind. She was still standing, completely frozen, staring at where the boss had been. I told her to go collect the loot. She snapped back and said 1 black iron piece was enough as agreed. I told her to take both. She hesitated, clearly calculating whether the 2 pieces would cover her brother's medical costs. I could see her working it out in her head. I did not push further and just let her keep her dignity about it. She thanked me quietly, and we headed for the exit portal. When we came out of the dungeon, the forest entrance was completely empty and silent. Everyone who had been waiting outside was gone. Mo Xiaoga and I exchanged a look. I said something was wrong. A blade flashed, and a figure slammed into me from the side before I could react fully. 225,000 damage hit my shield. The attacker jumped back immediately, confused. He muttered that I should have been stunned. I looked at him and said he was sent by Wu Hao. He grinned and confirmed it, then said knowing that would not help me since I was going to die anyway. He also made clear that Mo Xiaoga was not being let go just because she was uninvolved. His exact words were that the game rules were not mine to decide, and we could die together. I quietly signaled Mo Xiaoga to run while he was talking. He noticed and said a 400-level gold realm expert was not going to let 2 black iron realm beginners walk away. 400 levels. 3 full realms above me. I felt the weight of that difference, but assessed quickly. His attack had only hit my shield for 225,000, meaning his damage output was not that high. My shield and health together could absorb several more hits. And since my control immunity was active, his crowd control was completely useless against me. I locked him with my spirit power and fired a quick shot while retreating. 31,000 damage broke through. Mo Xiaoga added a fireball for 0 damage. His defense was over 100,000, completely blocking her output. But his health bar showed 3 million. Without star fall, I needed 9-star chain. I started drawing and charging. The killer's expression changed the moment he saw me draw and charge. He recognized the technique from the Chaos Dragon broadcast. He started calculating whether his 3 million health was enough to survive what was coming. It was not. He knew it too. He dropped to his knees. He told me he had been forced into this. Wu Hao had paid him 1 million gold and was holding his daughter hostage. He said he had no choice. I kept the bow drawn and told him I had no reason to believe a killer's confession. Mo Xiaoga spoke up softly and asked if maybe I should let him go, saying what if he was telling the truth. She mentioned it quietly, clearly thinking of her own brother. I told her firmly that this man had just tried to kill both of us, and that without my ability to protect myself we would already be dead on the ground. She went quiet. I prepared to release the shot. Then a fireball the size of a wash basin came screaming in from somewhere in the distance and flew straight at the killer. A fireball slammed into the killer for over 30 million damage. He flew backward and hit the ground without moving again. I stared at the damage number. Even my combined health and shield only totaled 1.3 million. Whatever had just fired that attack could erase me dozens of times over. 2 figures walked toward us from the trees. Wu Hao and a middle-aged man carrying an orange glowing staff. Wu Hao was smiling. The man looked bored and slightly annoyed. Wu Hao called him second uncle and thanked him for coming. The man told Wu Hao this was the last time and that he needed to focus on his own breakthrough to the stellar realm. He scanned me and Mo Xiaoga with complete indifference. I felt the pressure radiating off him immediately. Diamond Realm Peak. The highest I had ever faced directly. 3 full realms above me. Wu Hao started taunting me, listing everything he planned to do after I was dead, including going after Tangxi next. I did not respond to any of it. I was too busy running escape scenarios in my head and finding none of them viable. Then I made a decision. If I was going to die here, I was at least taking Wu Hao with me. While Wu Hao was busy gloating, I quietly locked him with my spirit power and released 9-star chain. The second uncle reacted instantly, throwing up a massive magic barrier around himself and Wu Hao. All 9 arrows hit the barrier in rapid succession and nearly broke through it. The barrier turned almost completely transparent by the last arrow, but held. The man was visibly shaken inside, realizing his 15 million damage capacity shield had nearly failed against a single skill from someone 3 realms below him. Wu Hao had gone pale. Then the second uncle raised his staff and cast fire rain directly above us. Countless fireballs poured down from the sky like a meteor shower. I looked at Mo Xiaoga beside me clutching her bag. I fired 1 more arrow at Wu Hao's direction, and then the fire consumed us. 1 fireball hit Mo Xiaoga, and her health vanished instantly. She fell slowly, never letting go of her bag even as she hit the ground. I closed my eyes. Death did not come. In the final moment before my health reached 0, the space ring on my finger blazed with golden light and wrapped around me completely. A system message appeared in cold mechanical text saying I had triggered a fatal damage condition and received a 9-second buff from traces of supreme power left behind by a level 999 supreme warrior. In a tea house somewhere across the city, my master apparently declared a winning hand in mahjong, collected money from a table of old ladies, looked up at the distant sky, muttered that I had used up his emergency measure faster than expected, and went back to shuffling tiles. Power flooded through me unlike anything I had ever felt. I checked my temporary stats quickly. 1,500 million health. Physical attack, 90 million. Defense, 35 million. 9 seconds. I set Mo Xiaoga down gently on the ground and stood up facing Wu Mingxiu. The cold look in my eyes made his body hair stand on end. Wu Hao stared in disbelief and could not understand how I had survived an attack equivalent to stellar realm power. His uncle's expression had changed entirely. He could feel what was coming off me now, and it made him feel like an insect. Wu Mingxiu fired a fireball at me immediately. It hit my body and did 0 damage. His expression collapsed. I raised my bow and locked onto him with my spirit power. The moment my lock touched him, I could see the fear take over his body. He threw up his magic barrier again, but his hands were shaking. I drew back the bow and an arrow formed that glowed deep gold, almost red. The power in it was so immense my hands trembled just holding it. The bow's durability dropped 18 points in 1 second just from the strain of containing that energy. I released. The arrow tore through the air and bent space slightly along its path. It hit the barrier and passed through it like it was not there, then buried itself in Wu Mingshu's chest. 627 million damage. He was gone before he hit the ground. I stared at what my master's leftover power had just done with a single arrow and felt a new level of awe for what Chu Lanfeng actually was. I turned to Wu Hao. He was shaking, wet, and begging me not to kill him, invoking his grandfather's name as a warning. I had nothing to say to him. I fired one arrow and walked away before it landed. The scream behind me confirmed it. For a moment, I felt strangely light, like something that had been pressing on me for a long time had finally lifted. This grudge had started before I even arrived in this world, carried over from whoever I had been before. Now it was finished. I walked to where Imo Xiaoga had fallen and crouched beside her. She was still clutching her bag. I thought about how tired she had looked when she removed her hood in the dungeon, and how she had trusted me without question even after I chose hell difficulty without warning her. She had died because of my conflict with Wu Hao, and that sat heavily in my chest. Then I thought about the resurrection skill. 36 chaos flames to unlock it. At 9 per day, that was 4 days. I had no idea if the time gap would matter or if her body could be preserved, but it was the only chance I could think of. I wrapped her carefully in spare clothes from my space ring, lifted her, and walked back toward Kyoto. Back at the Villa, Tang Si helped me set up a preservation formation in the basement to keep her body from deteriorating. I told him she had died in the dungeon from the boss during our hell difficulty run and that I felt responsible. I did not mention Wu Hao or his uncle. I did not want to bring more danger toward Tang Si. After we settled everything, I showed Tang Si my bow. 1 durability point remaining out of 40. He said I should just let him buy me a new one. I said to repair it for now since I could not equip anything better at my current level anyway. He shook his head and took me to meet the 5-star craftsman at the Dragon Glory Guild headquarters in the center of Kyoto. The building was enormous with the guild name gleaming at the top in sunlight. 2 guards at the entrance had power levels comparable to Wu Mingshu. They greeted Tang Si respectfully, and we walked inside. Back in Yunxing, Wu Hao's grandfather Wu Boxiong had rushed to the family guild after sensing his grandson's life mark disappear. He explained to Wu Hao's father that he had secretly placed a protective seal on Wu Hao at birth, one capable of absorbing an attack equivalent to 1/10 of his own power, enough to protect against anything below the stellar realm. Since the seal had shattered along with Wu Hao's uncle who was Diamond Peak realm, they concluded the killer must have been stellar realm or above. They had no idea what had actually happened. Wu Boxiong ordered a 100 million gold bounty posted and demanded everyone who had recent contact with Wu Hao be brought in for questioning. I was unaware of all this. Tang Si and I took the elevator to the top floor of the Dragon Glory Guild building, where a craftsman named Old Zhao worked in a spacious workshop filled with forging tools and half-finished equipment. He picked up my bow, said one word describing it as trash, and dropped it back on the table. Tang Si apologized for him and explained he was used to working with only the finest items. Old Zhao told us to come back in an hour and waved us out. In the hallway, Tang Si spotted my space ring when I took it out and went wide-eyed. He knew exactly how rare those were, that even Stellar Realm experts rarely possessed one, and that the demon race would trade fortunes to obtain them. He asked where I got it. I told him a senior figure had given it to me and promised to get him one eventually. I went back in and handed Old Zhao the Supreme Grade Cloak blueprint. His entire demeanor changed instantly. His hands trembled. His voice cracked, asking how I had obtained a Supreme Grade blueprint. I just smiled and said nothing. He composed himself and told me seriously that even his 5-star craftsmanship could only complete the first 3 construction layers. The remaining 6 would require Dwarf Master level skill, perhaps the only race in the world capable of such work. He agreed to create the initial form and refused any payment, saying being allowed to witness a legendary item up close was more than enough reward. He dove into the blueprint immediately and stopped acknowledging us entirely. Tang Si leaned over and quietly asked what I had been through over the past 2 days since my power and possessions had both grown enormously. I told him it was a long story and we would talk about it eventually. I stood waiting and thinking ahead. The next neutral zone hunting event was approaching. Fantion the Demon King would almost certainly send a much larger group this time. My control immunity solved one weakness, but being surrounded and focused by hundreds of fighters simultaneously was a different problem entirely. Even a 1,000,000-point shield would not last against that kind of concentrated fire. I also had to think about whether Tang Si would enter with me this time, and whether I would need to protect him while also fighting. I was working through possible solutions when old Zhao suddenly shouted from across the workshop. "Done." Old Zhao held up a thin gray cloak and announced it was finished. Tang Si and I rushed over together. He explained that the blueprint itself had been one of the required crafting materials, combining with the shadow yarn to create the cloak's first form. Future upgrades would be described on the cloak itself once this form was active. I read the description carefully. Shadow Divine Blessed Cloak, Black Iron Grade. Standing still for 3 seconds in any non-town area would trigger stealth mode. Moving or using an attack skill would break stealth. Also immune to spirit power detection from any target up to 100 levels above me. No cooldown. The upgrade to bronze grade needed a material called Shadow Spirit Core, which would reduce the stealth trigger from 3 seconds to 1, extend the movement window after attacking before stealth broke, and expand detection immunity to 200 levels above me. I put it on immediately. The thin fabric settled over my shoulders, and I felt a faint energy pulse from it. This solved the exact problem I had been thinking about. Stealth in the neutral zone meant I could control every engagement entirely on my own terms, approach bosses undetected, avoid being surrounded, and choose when and where to strike. The Shadow Spirit Core was available in the merchant system for over 10 million gold. I had 16 million, but decided to save it. Teleport scrolls and other neutral zone expenses would add up fast, and I wanted cash on hand. I could go after the bronze upgrade after the next neutral zone run. Tang Si stared at me wearing it, and said it looked incredible. I patted his shoulder, and said it would make our next hunt much smoother. He went quiet for a moment, and then told me he would not be joining me this time. His grandfather had ordered him to wait for university enrollment and go in with a properly assigned squad. He said it was about safety and squad coordination. He did not say the other reason I could read on his face, which was that he did not want to be a burden to me. I understood and did not push. Honestly, with 300 demon fighters likely waiting inside after what had happened to Fanyi, having Tang Si with me would have been a serious liability. He told me to go destroy the demon faction. I could not really respond to that. We were still in the Dragon Glory Guild lobby when the system announcement arrived. 20 bosses this time, double the last hunt, all between level 100 and 199. 10 minutes until arrival. I confirmed the teleport immediately and vanished. What I did not know was that in the Demon King's palace, Fantion had just finished briefing 300 level 199 demon fighters, all in full gold grade equipment and most with control skills, specifically selected to counter physical attackers like me. He had also given their leader a special gold grade armor with a Thorns effect that would reflect up to 2 million damage back at the attacker and then absorb 1 lethal physical hit. He was planning for me to kill myself with my own strongest attack. I arrived in the neutral zone early. Only a few adventurers from various races were present in the safe zone so far, quietly forming groups and discussing strategy. I checked my stats and equipment. Everything was in order. Spirit power over 100,000. Physical attack over 20,000. My full kit including the new cloak and the Star Track Sacred Seal were ready. 20 bosses. A stealth cloak. A tracking seal that could locate any boss with precision. I was ready. I stood in the safe zone reviewing my situation. At level 156, I needed 43 more Star Origin Pearls to reach the peak of the Black Iron Realm at level 199. With my Star Track Sacred Seal, I could locate 3 bosses precisely before even starting to search. My control immunity meant crowd control was no longer a threat. The main danger was being surrounded and focused by large groups simultaneously. Without moving, I noticed my body had vanished. The cloak had triggered after 3 seconds of standing still. I looked down and could still see myself and feel my own equipment, meaning the stealth was visual only. A wide area attack could still hit me if I happened to be standing in its path. Good to know. More and more adventurers kept arriving through the teleport. They were talking about me, mostly speculating whether I would show up given what the demon faction had done last time. Then the mood shifted entirely. A sound of hundreds of weapons and armor pieces filled the safe zone as wave after wave of demon fighters materialized. By the time they stopped arriving, there were close to 300 of them, all level 199, all wearing full gold-grade equipment and matching deep blue. The other races went quiet immediately. Their leader, who called himself Sha-Ing, scanned the area and did not find me. He opened the world channel and taunted me publicly, calling me a coward and daring me to show up for 300 rounds of combat. I watched the world channel responses from my invisible position. Tang Xi's message told me to be careful of demon tricks. Others were debating whether Sha-Ing had some hidden counter prepared, since openly provoking someone with my attack power seemed suicidal unless he had a reason to feel safe. I agreed with that assessment. He was deliberately trying to bait me into a specific kind of attack. Something on him was designed to punish exactly what I did best. I applied my War God Blessing and Spirit Shield while still invisible. Shield health 1.13 million. Attack over 58,000 base, 70,000 with title bonus, meaning regular charge shots hit for over 1.5 million and Starfall could reach 27 million. I bought 20 random scrolls and 5 targeted scrolls for emergencies. Meanwhile, Sha-Ing had gotten impatient and started ordering every non-Demon Alliance race to leave the neutral zone within 1 minute or face elimination. The other races pushed back loudly, but he ignored all of it and ordered his fighters to engage anyone who refused to leave. Most of the smaller groups started reluctantly withdrawing. A few dwarves and elves announced they were staying and reporting the situation to their leadership. The region channel filled with frustration about the demon faction bullying and comments about how badly they needed me to show up. The 5-second warning sounded. The safe zone barrier dropped. I had already torn a random scroll before the countdown finished and vanished from the safe zone before anyone could target me. I landed in a small forest and immediately noticed my stealth had not broken during the teleport. Standing still while using a scroll apparently counted as not moving. That was a useful discovery. I could relocate without ever becoming visible. I pulled out the Star Track Sacred Seal and tested it by searching for level 199 bosses. Nothing appeared. My guess was that the highest boss only spawned after all others had been defeated. I searched for level 180 instead and got 2 results immediately. I could only select one coordinate at a time, so I picked one and set a targeted teleport to a point slightly offset from the boss location. I arrived by a small stream with a massive dark boss standing nearby. Same model as the Demon King boss from my previous visit, 800,000 health, magic type attacker. I locked on and fired 9-star chain without hesitating. 9 golden arrows hit in sequence. 1 critical. The boss collapsed instantly and dropped 9-star origin pearls, 90,000 gold, and 2 silver grade items. The region announcement immediately broadcast my kill. The neutral zone erupted in reaction. People who had been leaving because of the demon faction's threats started changing their minds when they heard I was here. Several announced they were staying to watch. Sha-Ying's expression must have been unpleasant. He reorganized his 300 fighters into squads of 10 and issued detailed orders. Each squad was to find me and use control skills in rotation rather than all at once, then pile on with focused attacks. Finding me first meant posting my coordinates in the region channel immediately so everyone else could converge. He was thinking tactically. Then he went back to the region channel taunting me to come fight him one-on-one, even offering to let me have the first shot. The more he pushed for a direct duel, the more certain I became that his equipment had something specifically designed to punish my attacks. Why else would someone with 300 fighters behind him want to isolate a one-on-one exchange? I filed the suspicion away and moved on. I used the Star Track Seal again for the second level 180 boss and teleported directly to it. I arrived in a mountain valley and found 2 identical bosses standing side by side. Both dark, both massive, both with glowing purple eyes. I scanned them and found they had slightly different stats, but similar enough that one was almost certainly a clone created by the boss skill magic shadow duplicate. The cooldown on 9-star chain had just finished. I picked one and fired. The target collapsed. The other one immediately started advancing toward me, raising its staff. I had guessed wrong. A massive purple fireball came down from above and hit my shield for 80,000 damage. Then the boss began charging another skill, and a huge black vortex started forming directly beneath my feet. I was already drawing back for Starfall. I held my charge while the boss hammered my shield with its sustained attack skill. Each hit landed for around 54,000 damage, and some triggered control attempts that all missed thanks to my immunity. Without the shield and control immunity, this boss would have been nearly impossible to handle at this level. I was fairly sure I was the only Black Iron Realm fighter who could solo it? The moment Starfall finished charging, I released it. 27 million damage, critical hit. The boss dropped instantly and scattered star origin pearls and 2 silver items across the ground. Region announcement confirmed my second level 180 kill. Less than a minute after the first one, the region channel erupted again. Other adventurers who had been reluctantly leaving started reconsidering. AOU from the Dragon Race sent me a congratulatory message. A dwarf named Obanyu said he respected nobody except me. The demon faction complained about me hiding, while the magic faction allies insisted I would eventually have to show up for the level 199 boss, and that was where they would finish. Me. Sha-ing kept spamming the region channel, trying to bait me into a one-on-one duel, getting increasingly dramatic about it, telling me to come hit him with my most devastating attack. He was clearly desperate for me to target him specifically. I sent one voice message in response. One word. Something rude. The channel broke into laughter. People said it felt like 300 elite demon fighters had been reduced to a comedy performance. I ignored everything else and checked my loot. Another 9-star origin pearls and 2 more silver items. I now had 18 pearls stored and resisted using them to keep my level and range for the remaining bosses. I pulled out the Star Track seal for its final use of the day and found 2 level 170 bosses. I selected one and teleported in. I arrived on an open grassland. A beast race squad was already attacking a massive dragon boss, the same model I had fought last time. Several elf corpses were on the ground nearby. The beast race fighters were just tanking everything head-on with no real coordination, but the boss was slowly going down under their combined damage. I did not bother announcing myself. They were enemy faction. I fired meteor arrow rain above the boss without charging it. One wave hit for 420,000 damage per arrow. The entire beast race squad died in the first volley before they could even turn around. Merit point notifications ticked up. I followed with a charged 9-star chain to finish the boss. Region announcement confirmed my third kill of the session. 80 points. The region channel was flooded with people begging me to share my teleport scrolls since I had found 3 high-level bosses in quick succession while they had been flying around randomly hitting nothing. I closed the channel and thought about my next move. The Star Track seal was used up for the day. I checked my total loot. 6 silver-grade equipment pieces worth about 500,000 each, all listed on the merchant system. 26-star origin pearls waiting in my space ring. Using all of them would push me to level 182, and combined with the 20 pearls from the final boss, I would overshoot level 199. That would cut me off from drops on any boss below my level. I decided to hold them and stay patient. I was about to tear a random scroll when several figures appeared near the still visible boss corpse. Demon fighters. A full squad of 10, arriving one by one. They were completely unaware I was standing right next to them, invisible. 8 of them clustered together and lit cigarettes. 2 female mages stood apart on watch duty. I raised my bow and fired meteor arrow rain over the group of 8. My body became visible the moment I attacked. I immediately followed with a single regular arrow at one of the distant mages. 8 dead from the rain, 1 dead from the arrow. All before they could react. Merit points ticked up repeatedly. The surviving mage froze and stared at me shaking. I smiled at her and said nothing. She assumed I was hesitating because of her appearance and quietly posted my coordinates in the region channel, thinking she was calling for help without me noticing. I said thank you and shot her. She died confused about why I had thanked her. I went invisible again and waited. 2 more squads arrived following her coordinates. They found their dead teammates and started reporting back to Sha-ing that I had already moved on. I was still standing there. 16 of the new arrivals clustered together to discuss next steps. For stayed on the perimeter. The 16 were all within arrow rain range. I fired again. 16 dead. My body appeared. The 4 on the perimeter reacted fast. 1 knife fighter charged me immediately and landed a hit on my shield for 60,000 damage, but the control attempt missed. The other 3 opened up with ranged skills and burned through another 200,000 shield health combined. I picked them off one by one until only 1 remained. I smiled at him. He looked down at his own legs in horror. Then he offered information in exchange for his life. He said Fention had given Sha-ing a physical damage reflection armor specifically designed to kill me by bouncing my own attacks back. While he was talking, he quietly tore a random scroll trying to sneak out. I had already locked him. 3 seconds after he vanished, I fired into the sky. Merit point notification arrived shortly after. The reflection armor explained everything. That was why Shine kept trying to bait me into a one-on-one duel and letting me hit first. He wanted me to Firestar fall into his chest. Since he was staying in one place, I just needed to avoid him entirely while hunting everything else. No need to ever engage him directly. I took a photo of the scene using the region channel camera, posted it without comment, tore a random scroll, and disappeared into a dense forest to continue searching for level 160 and above bosses. The photo apparently caused a significant reaction in the region channel. The photo I posted hit the region channel like a bomb. People counted the bodies and estimated around 30 demon fighters dead. The elf and dwarf factions announced they were each sending nearly 100 level 199 elites to come help. Someone asked if the human faction was sending anyone. The answer was awkward silence. Shine was apparently furious, but still not moving from his spot. He was saving that reflection armor for me specifically and did not want it triggered by anyone else's stray physical attack. He just had to wait for the final boss. I kept tearing random scrolls and hit nothing for 10 in a row. Then a message tagged me in the region channel. A human adventurer asking for help at specific coordinates, saying the demon faction was stealing their level 140 boss. I hesitated. My feelings about how the human establishment had treated me were still raw. I would have moved immediately for an elf or dwarf request, but I reminded myself that not every human was my enemy. My master, Tang Si, Elder Wind, and Zhao Shilai were all human. I decided to go, but I waited until I was fully invisible before teleporting, and set the arrival point 100 meters offset from the given coordinates. I materialized on open grassland and assessed the situation invisibly. One demon squad was attacking the boss, which was already below half health. A second demon squad had a human team pinned down nearby. One human was already dead on the ground. A young woman on the human side had been hit and was bleeding but still shouting at the demon fighters about stealing a boss they had nearly killed. The demon side threw my name back at her, saying I did the same thing to others. Their leader started making threatening demands that disgusted me. The human team leader, named Wang Lei, said they would rather die than abandon their teammate. I fired meteor arrow rain before anyone could make another move. The 5 fighters attacking the boss died instantly in the first wave. The other 5 scattered immediately, shouting my name and calling for elite backup through the region channel. I picked them off one by one as they ran. 10 seconds, and it was over. The boss had also taken enough arrow rain damage during the chaos that it collapsed too. Region announcement confirmed the kill but added that I was over the level requirement and would receive no rewards. I had not thought about that. Out of habit, I had aimed at the boss first. 6 full waves of arrow rain at 420,000 damage per wave, and the thing had actually absorbed all of it before dying. That was an embarrassing miscalculation. I told the human team to leave quickly because demon reinforcements would arrive soon. The team leader Wang Lei thanked me and started ushering everyone out with random scrolls. Then the young woman named Yang Fei pointed at me and loudly demanded to know why I had stolen their boss while helping them. Her teammates looked like they wanted to disappear into the ground. I looked at her for a moment and said calmly, "So I should not have come to save you?" Yang Fei kept arguing that I should have protected them while they finished the boss themselves instead of accidentally killing it with my own attack. She then started walking toward me with obvious confidence in her appearance, clearly planning to charm me into becoming her personal escort through the neutral zone. I went invisible and left without a word. She stopped mid-walk and stared at empty air, rubbing her eyes. 2 demon squads teleported in moments later and found the bodies and her standing there alone. She tried to use a random scroll, but they interrupted the activation. She posted my name in the region channel begging me to come back. I was standing right there invisible and watched it happen. I had made my decision when I left. She had come to the neutral zone knowing the risks, had been rude and ungrateful, and had deliberately tried to use her looks to manipulate me. I was not going to risk my life again for that. The demon squad killed her quickly. I felt the weight of that, but not guilt. The neutral zone is not a place for sentiment. I scanned the remaining 2 squads. 10 fighters were clustered close enough for meteor arrow rain. The other 10 were spread out. Hitting the clustered group would expose me, and the outer 10 would focus fire immediately. At their level with gold-grade equipment, each hit could deal 60 to 120,000 damage, and their highest skills could multiply that by 10. My million-point shield would not last long under that. I waited. After a while, one squad got impatient and left to keep searching. The remaining squads split further, with 7 lying down to rest and 3 standing watch on the perimeter. I fired. Arrow rain wiped out the 7 in one wave. I came visible and immediately shot one of the 3 outer guards before they could react. 2 dead in the follow-up. The last one charged me with a blade, hit my shield for 60,000 but missed the control attempt. I shot the one trying to flee first, then looked at the last fighter standing close enough that we could feel each other's breath. He slowly lowered his sword and very carefully said he was just passing through and wished me a good day. I told him to wait. I asked him to do me a favor before leaving. He agreed nervously. I told him to send my coordinates to his commander. He stared at me. Then he sent the message. Then he looked at me hopefully. I said thank you and shot him. I went invisible again and waited. This was deliberate. The final boss would eventually force a confrontation with the full demon force. Every fighter I reduced now was one fewer threat at that critical moment. Better to thin their numbers while I held the terrain advantage and could control engagements on my terms. Several demon fighters teleported in moments later. One of them was Xiaoying. Xiaoying finally lost patience and came to the site himself with a squad. He found nothing but bodies and empty ground. I was standing invisible a short distance away watching him shout into the air, demanding I come fight him. I studied him carefully. He had the reflection armor, and I could not use physical attacks against him directly. I switched mentally to magic options. With my fan equipped, my magic attack reached around 50,000 after buffs. His magic defense at his level was probably around 20,000, and his health maybe 200,000. My fan's basic strike could deal about 30,000 magic damage per hit, meaning I needed at least 7 hits to kill him. The problem was he knew about my shield. He would call for reinforcements the moment I appeared, and 7 hits of back and forth while 100 demon fighters converged on my position was not a fight I could win. I needed a perfect moment, and this was not it. I tore a random scroll and left to keep searching. I appeared in a dark, dense forest and immediately felt something was wrong. The ground under my feet shook. I looked down and found myself standing on top of a massive dragon skull. I had teleported directly onto a boss's head. The boss barely registered the slight pressure because I was still invisible. I quietly scanned it. Level 170 Dragon Boss, 7 million health, full physical and magic stats. I was already in position. I drew the bow, charged 9-star chain, then leaped off the head and released the moment I was clear. 9 golden arrows slammed into the boss in rapid sequence. 1 critical hit doubled. The boss roared and staggered through all 9 impacts before collapsing. Region announcement confirmed the kill. 80 points. 8 more star origin pearls plus 2 silver items, including a magic attack bracelet that I immediately noted could be useful against Xiaoying. I now had 34 star origin pearls total. Using all of them would push me to level 190. I thought about whether to wait for the remaining level 160 boss, but 2 announcements came through almost immediately. The elf squad led by Leah had killed one of the level 160s, and the demon faction had taken the level 140. The remaining level 160 boss was out there somewhere, but the odds of me finding it randomly with no seal charges left were low. I had already killed 4 of the highest level bosses available. That was more than enough. I used all 34 pearls without further hesitation. The levels came fast, one after another, all the way from 156 up to 190 before stopping. I checked my updated stats. Spirit power, nearly 140,000. Physical attack, over 22,000 base. Health, over 217,000. Magic attack, nearly 10,000. My merit points had also crossed 1,000, which meant I could upgrade my military rank when I returned to Kyoto. Neutral zone points at 350, well on the way toward more gold grade medals. Everything was moving in the right direction. Now I just had to deal with what was coming when the level 199 boss appeared. I checked my new stats with satisfaction. Health, over 217,000. Spirit power with the fan equipped, nearly 144,000, pushing my shield to 1.5 million health. War God Blessing now added over 50,000 to both physical and magic attack. My physical attack total reached over 72,000, meaning a 3-second charge shot hit for nearly 2 million. Starfall could now detonate for 34.5 million damage. I quietly celebrated that number for a moment. My gold was approaching 20 million. Merit points had crossed 1,000. Neutral zone points at 350. Everything was building nicely. I had killed 40 demon fighters so far. 260 remained along with Xiaoying. Since I had to wait for the level 199 boss anyway, this was the perfect time to thin those numbers further before the final confrontation. I went invisible and posted a message in the region channel with a set of coordinates. telling the demon faction their grandfather was waiting for them there. The coordinates I gave were 200 meters from my actual position in an open area, while I stayed hidden in dense forest with limited sight lines. Even if something went wrong, I could teleport out, and my arrows did not need to travel in a straight line to hit locked targets. The region channel erupted. Some people call me reckless. The elf and dwarf factions reminded me their elites were already inside and would protect me at the final boss. Sha-Ing read my message and ordered everyone to hold position while he thought about it. He suspected a trap. He was right. After some deliberation, he sent 5 squads, 50 fighters, but stayed behind himself. I waited a few extra minutes to be absolutely sure he was not coming. When I confirmed he was absent, I felt relief. No reflection armor meant I could use physical attacks freely. The 50 demon fighters arrived at the fake coordinates and spread out searching. After finding nothing, they started complaining loudly about wasted teleport scrolls and being pulled away from their own realm advancement schedules just to deal with one human newcomer. They grumbled about Funtion breaking the demon faction's normal rotation system for the sake of his dead son. Eventually, about 30 of them just lay down on the ground to rest, while 20 spread out on perimeter watch. I watched them from 200 meters away through my enhanced vision. The math was straightforward. Perimeter fighters were spread out enough that meteor arrow rain could not cover all 20 simultaneously. But the 30 lying down together were a perfect cluster. If I fired, and then the outer fighters converged, they would need at least 6 seconds to close 200 meters at their maximum movement speed. My arrow rain lasted 6 seconds, and the time needed for them to spot me, report to Sha-Ing, and for him to use a targeted scroll and wait through the 3-second guidance time added up to well over 6 seconds. He would arrive after the rain had already ended. I drew my bow and aimed at the cluster of resting demon fighters. I fired meteor arrow rain into the cluster of resting demon fighters. 500,000 damage per arrow, with a critical hit doubling some of them. Over 20 fighters in the center died instantly in the first wave. The outer fighters screamed and charged toward my position in the forest. I had already locked one of the runners and tore a random scroll before they got close. I appeared in a desert somewhere else and fired one arrow into the air. Merit points arrived shortly after for the locked target. Standing still for 3 seconds, I went invisible again. My merit total had jumped by 260 points in one hit, equivalent to killing 25 demon fighters at once. I posted another set of fake coordinates in the region channel taunting them to come find me. The region channel found it hilarious. People said I was burning through their expensive teleport scrolls on purpose. AOU offered to shelter me in the Dragon faction area in exchange for not competing for the final boss. I declined mentally but appreciated the offer. Sha-Ing ordered everyone to stop responding to my coordinates. Then after a pause, he posted something different. He challenged me to a formal one-on-one duel with a soul oath guaranteeing no interference from either side during the fight and for 30 seconds afterward. He invited the dragon and mechanical factions as witnesses and said I could bring elf and dwarf allies to watch. A soul oath in this world was binding. Breaking it would destroy the oath maker's soul. That part was real. The region channel debated whether he had a hidden weapon prepared. Someone pointed out that nothing could protect against my 10 million damage hits unless there was something very specific going on. I read his message and smiled coldly. I already knew about the reflection armor. He was betting I did not. This was exactly the opportunity one had been waiting for. I could use his own trap against him. I posted my acceptance immediately. The region channel erupted. The elf faction said their elites were already moving to scout the location. The dwarf faction said theirs were going too. The dragon and mechanical races volunteered to be official witnesses and keep the two sides separated. I posted a public thank you to the elf and dwarf factions for their support and promised to repay the favor when they needed it. 15 minutes later, Leah from the elf faction confirmed the location was ready and sent a photo. The image showed tens of thousands of spectators packed around a clearing about 50 meters across. Elf and dwarf elites lined one side, demon fighters the other, with dragon and mechanical race members keeping them separated. I stepped out of invisibility and put the cloak back in my space ring. I was not about to reveal that card to this many observers. I teleported to the coordinates. The crowd reacted the moment I appeared. I heard some embarrassing things being shouted from the audience. I kept my expression neutral. Leah stepped forward and introduced herself formally with a warm smile. I shook her hand and thanked her and the elf faction genuinely. A dwarf commander introduced himself next and said his 80 fighters were ready to support me. The dwarves cheered loudly. I nodded to AOU across the circle. Then I turned to face Xiaoying. Xiaoying walked into the clearing full of confidence, telling me to use my strongest skill to fight him. He specifically kept pushing me to use my bow. I pulled out my fan instead and started fanning myself casually. He stared. I told him since he had asked me to use my job class's strongest attack skill, I would be using Fan Strike as a support class. That was technically my primary weapon. He got increasingly agitated trying to convince me to switch to my bow. The crowd around us started laughing and pointing out that it was suspicious how badly he wanted me to use the bow specifically. Xiaoying realized arguing was making him look worse. He decided to fight me with magic attacks since I was apparently going magic-based. He figured a 5-star class with full gold-grade equipment could handle a healer in a fair fight. He charged me with a blade skill. It hit my shield for 100,000 damage, and the control attempt missed completely. I swung the fan and hit him with Fan Strike for over 44,000 magic damage. One hit gave me enough information. His health was around 200,000, magic defense around 22,000, and his attack was near 50,000. My Fan Strike could deal 44,000 per hit. Without potions, he would be dead in 5 hits. He used his strongest skill in Desperation, a 3-part attack dealing 5 times physical damage per hit. All 3 segments hit my shield for 240,000 each, cutting my shield roughly in half. He felt hope for a moment. Then I waved my fan at myself and a fresh shield formed instantly. He panicked and started begging me to stop. He said he had information only he and Fentian knew, and if I let him live he would tell me everything. I asked if it was about the reflection armor. His expression confirmed everything. He had not expected me to already know. He lowered his voice and said it was something else, Fentian's final countermeasure for dealing with me, and began leaning in to whisper it. He never finished the sentence. A demon fighter from his own side hit him from behind with a killing blow. His health emptied, and he dropped. AOU demanded to know what that was. The demon fighter said he was eliminating a traitor and asked if that counted as a rules violation. The mechanical race observer said coldly that it did not, since it was internal to their own faction. Xiaoying lay dead on the ground without finishing what he was about to tell me. Whatever Fentian's last resort was, only Xiaoying had known it, and now that secret was gone. The demon faction immediately raised their weapons and gave everyone 30 seconds to leave or face the consequences. The elf and dwarf sides held their ground and started trading insults with the demon fighters. Nobody attacked, yet since the 30 seconds were still running and the dragon and mechanical observers were watching, I walked over to Leah and the dwarf commander and thanked them both. Then I told them to step back. The demon fighters wanted to die quickly, and I was happy to help them with that. With the reflection armor gone, I could fight freely again. I thanked Leah and the dwarf commander and told them to pull their elites back. The demon fighters wanted to fight, and I would handle it myself. There was no reason to sacrifice Alliance lives when I could move faster and hit harder alone. The elf and dwarf elites teleported out. The spectators cleared the area quickly. I pretended to tear a random scroll and faded from view, but I was actually just going invisible and staying put. The demon fighters immediately started arguing about what to do next. Without Xiaoying, they had no leader. Someone brought up that Xiaoying had mentioned Fentian still had a final countermeasure before he died, so they decided to wait and see what that was. They reorganized from 10-person squads into 5 groups of 47 each to be harder to wipe in one hit, then started rallying themselves to find my weaknesses. A new leader named Black Flame stepped up, the same one who had killed Xiaoying during the duel. He gave a speech about using their numerical advantage to surround and control me. He got everyone shouting a battle cry about tearing me apart. I had teleported 200 meters away while they were cheering. I locked onto the center of the crowd and fired Meteor Arrow Rain. The first wave hit for 500,000 damage each. The entire clustered group in the arrow rain's radius died instantly, including Black Flame mid-speech. Some outer fighters charged toward my position, but I had already torn a random scroll and was gone before they covered half the distance. I appeared in a forest and checked my merit points. 1,000 points gained in a single hit. 100 demon fighters eliminated in one attack. That was the most I had ever killed at once. It helped that they had all gathered together enthusiastically for their motivational rally. 135 demon fighters remaining. I went invisible and started moving again. The hunt was not over yet.